Well, salutations, fellow idiots. Welcome back once again to yet another episode, that Full Moon Live, baby. I am joined tonight by one of my longest running friends here on the YouTubes. And I like to consider Chris just a movie friend in general. I think that's sort of where we really bonded outside of even video games, is just our love of random wild movies and similar sensibilities when it comes to the crappier end of that spectrum. But Chris, like the mensch that he is, chose Dollman, one of my all-time favorite full moon movies to discuss today. Dollman was directed by Albert Pune. It was written by Charles Band, David Pabium, and Chris Roghair. It was produced by Kathy Giswaldo. It stars Tim Thomerson, Jackie Earl Haley, Kamala Lopez, Humberto Ortiz, Nicholas Guest, and Judd Omen. It's got cinematography by George Muradian, who I feel shot just about every full moon movie that that other guy, Adolfo Bartoli, didn't shoot back in the day. It was pretty much one of those
two guys on retainer.
Yeah. It has music by Anthony Ripparetti, and he did a banging job of it. It was obviously distributed by Full Moon, or it was produced by Full Moon and distributed by Paramount Home Video at the time, and it was released on November 27th of 1991. I feel like this is a film that we both have a fairly long history with. Mine varies a little bit more than most, I think. I had several years where I didn't watch this movie for whatever reason. We'll get into that. But since you're the guest, Chris, we're going to go ahead and let you talk about your history with the movie and your first impression when you saw it.
Yeah, I was a huge Full Moon fan, like from the get-go, like from the moment we rented like Puppet Master. So it was like an event when we'd go to the video store and we'd see that there was a new Full Moon movie like on the shelves at like the local mom and pop shop or whatever. So being a big Transfers fan, I saw in like one of the video zones that Tim Thomerson was going to be like in another pseudo franchise, or maybe starting off a new franchise for Full Moon, and that was like the Dollman. And it looked kind of silly that he was going to be like, I think, what was the tagline? Like 13 inches of
with an attitude.
Yeah, I was like, this is either going to be the best thing or the worst thing I've ever seen. And then I saw that
either way, you knew it would be entertaining. But
oh yeah, well, if Tim Thomerson's in it, like I would watch him read the Battlefield Earth script, and I'd probably be entertained. He'd make it worthwhile. So like when the day came out, I remember we ran out to the shop right around the corner from where I used to live, and my brother and I rented it and we watched it. And I remember we both were just kind of like, that was pretty rad, especially exploding people. Sprug was pretty cool, but I remember just kind of going like, when it was over, I was like, that's it.
Yeah. It very much feels like something they intended to do a lot more of and just didn't get around to it because Charlie was
budget ran out or something.
Doll movies.
Yeah,
I don't even know about that because they have that Paramount money, man. Maybe not as
didn't
much.
Didn't look it. I'll tell you that. It's like it's like Charles Band is like, hey Albert, here's $2 million, and he was like, okay, I'll take 10,000 of it and make the movie, and then I'll spend the rest on hookers and blow.
Hell yeah, and maintaining that sweet fucking mullet that he was rocking back then.
Yeah,
I imagine that cost a fair amount to keep as spruced up as it was. And flying him over from Hawaii, I imagine cost some cash. But
yeah,
Albert knew what he was doing. Clearly, I like to think that he did a lot with this movie and used some really classic techniques. This is essentially a film made in the 90s using the same technology they used to do King Kong or some shit. So,
yeah. And there's a couple of scenes where you can act like the HD ruins everything since my Blu-ray copy. Like there's a couple of shots where, Brick is walking in the foreground and there's like another shot of a tall person in the background. You can see the big ass green screen outline on him.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, thankfully I've only ever seen this in CRT as it was intended.
Oh God.
So I don't have the Blu-ray yet. I do plan on getting it and allowing those effects to be ruined for me as well. But it's definitely a low budget film. Definitely one that should have been much bigger than it is. Dollman for my money, is the film in Full Moon's history that most deserved at least 2 sequels.
Yeah. And I can't understand why it never got it if they were like pumping out all these Transfer sequels and you know, the Puppet Masters and the Subspecies sequels and all that, why they couldn't give him at least a couple more.
Yeah, I feel like he could have fitted in between transfers or after they, you know, were done with them.
Yeah.
I mean, Tim was still young enough then to have done, because we did technically get, you know, a bumper scene or like a post-credit scene in Bad Channels, and then we did get Dollman versus Demonic Toys. So they did do more with Dollman, but a couple of standalone sequels would have been sick, especially when he was done with transfers, considering most of it was done on like little minute like sets and blue screened or whatever. It would have been less intensive work, I would think, than transfers was.
Yeah.
So I feel like Tim probably would have been sitting pretty doing them too. I don't know. I think that they just got caught up in making tiny doll movies, man. As much as I love that stuff, that's pretty much what happened. And then the reason we haven't gotten a lot of sequels to their cooler stuff now is because he got obsessed with making weed movies, you know?
Yeah.
Charlie has his weird little niches that he falls into sometimes, and for better or for worse, he sticks to his guns.
He likes gingerbread and weed.
Pretty much. Thankfully, he still likes big-titted women, though, so he keeps us supplied in those.
Yeah, that was one of the funny things when I popped my Blu-ray in. There was an ad for the streaming service, and it's Charlie Band sitting at a table with like this giant-chested woman behind him who was able to like flex her boobs and make them bounce, and she was doing she has them on strings, and she was doing this. She was, "I am the new puppet master."
That's pretty great. And doing his best Lloyd Kaufman. I love it.
Yeah. He's like, "Oh, I knew the big chested woman would get your attention, so now I'm going to talk about the website.
Dudes. I always like how he starts out like that. Dudes.
Yeah.
Full Moon streaming, $60 a month. We'll give you a free Puppet Master set. You should all do that if you haven't taken advantage of the deal. I think they were offering something pretty cool for the recent weed holiday. But if you're not people that observe that, I think they still do offer 10 DVDs or Blu-rays, single disc, mind you, or the Puppet Master set. If you
I got the Puppet Master set. So.
I'm not going to shill for Charlie all night. You owe me like probably $200 at this point, but get out there and get it. Yeah, it just should have gotten sequels, man. I mean, the more I've talked about this with people, and it came up again in the Dr. Mordred thing, and it came up again when I was watching Crips last night. They had such a rich roster of people they could have used to do their own version of the Avengers back in the day. I've talked about this with you before. And I like to think Dollman would have been like the Captain America almost of that, their Full Moon Revengers or whatever.
It would have been funny to see like Dollman sharing a screen with Jack Death.
Yes, that would have been amazing. I think a really key scene that should have happened in there too is at some point Jack loses his gun, and so he just picks up Brick Bardo and points him at the person, and Brick shoots him
blaster the shit out of those punks.
That would be fucking amazing, dude.
Cox Brick Bardo.
Hell yeah. That would quickly skyrocket to my favorite scene in Full Moon history. But, you know, my history with Dollman, unfortunately, I didn't rent it as many times as I did other stuff back in the day. It definitely was part of the rental rotation, as I mentioned in my review. But weirdly enough, like around the time of like 10 or 11, I got diverted into like other lanes of these types of movies. So I didn't watch Dollman from that point until I got into like seriously collecting Full Moon last year. Or was it the year before? I don't remember. In the last couple of years, and I ended up watching it on Tubi and just fell right in love with it again because Dollman is fucking amazing.
Yeah,
you know?
I probably hadn't watched it in 20 years before getting the Blu-ray.
Oh, really? So
yeah, I used to have like the one that we rented. What we would always end up doing was just like making like a copy of it on another VHS tape, and I had like little compilations of Full Moon movies, you know, on VHS, like 3 movies per tape or whatever, and I think once I got rid of those, I hadn't actually watched it until I got my Blu-ray copy like 6 months ago or whatever.
Nice,
I want to say. So it had been a long time.
Yeah, we're right about in the same time there then. About 20 years of not seeing the movie, and you put it in, and but boy, howdy does it not.
It's just nostalgic as F, man.
Yeah, plus the nostalgia on top. I mean, it's a banging film, some solid beer and popcorn shit. I think we'll be able to do
a future Oscar winner.
It did. It really did. And honestly, given probably a damn near well, I won't say Oscar worthy performance at the time, but he's good. You know,
Yeah, you just
we're both
hamming
talking
it up
about
like
Jackie
no one's
Earle Haley,
business.
right?
Yeah. What was you saying?
You were talking about Jackie Earle Haley, right?
No, yeah. It's like one of
we're-
those things where I remember when I found out that he had gotten nominated for the Oscar, I was like, that guy from Dollman. It's like, who knew? Like, I haven't seen this guy in 20 years, and he just randomly pops up at the Oscars, you know?
Right. And I mean, you know, he'll always be Rorschach to me, I think, because that really, well, see, I don't know though. You don't think of him
Yeah, I
as
remember him from
Rorschach.
Breaking
He's
Away.
just the dude that played Rorschach.
Yeah. So I remember the first time I ever saw him was Breaking Away, that bicycle movie with Dennis Quaid in it. That used to be on cable all the time when I was a kid, like in the early 80s.
It sounds like a horrible sign of the times, you know, like a bicycle movie from the 80s. I'm about that. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, they did not live a quarter mile at a time.
Yeah, honestly, I think sadly, I'm not like as well schooled with Jackie Earle Haley as I probably should be. I know him from this. I know him from, you know, obviously Watchmen, and then I know him as the dude who did a better job than he's given credit for trying to play Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, I give him credit for the length he went to make it interesting, like with the voice and everything.
Yeah, and he put his heart into it.
Yeah,
it's just
he took it seriously.
You know, he put his heart into a losing battle.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like he took it seriously where no one else that made the movie did.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, that was basically because I saw a sneak preview of that, and that was basically what I said on the way out of the theater. Was like he was the only one who gave a shit when they made this movie.
I feel like I saw him in some type of a war movie once too.
I remember he was in the RoboCop remake.
Maybe that's it. Somewhere where he was brandishing a gun, and I was like, "Oh shit, that is kind of."
Yeah, he was playing like the Clarence Boddicker part in the RoboCop remake, and I was just kind of like, "Huh."
I mean, yeah, there's no top and Red Foreman.
No, I'm sorry. Like, bitches leave. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Yeah, I still use that to this day.
I text people with that to say, "Hey."
He was putting boots to asses in that 70s show. They also just been lucky he wasn't dropping fucking grenades in their apartments or something. But Dollman, you know, we're gonna pretty much run it like this. We're just gonna give you a brief rundown of the story because it's about as simple as all get out. So it's really not that hard to talk about.
It's not that deep.
Essentially, you know, Tim motherfucking Thomerson from Trancers, you know, plays Brick Bardo, who is this rough and tumble cop in this future city, or you assume it's some future city, but really it's just some alien city on some alien world somewhere. He's known for racking up a hell of a body count. You know, there's definitely, I guess, tinges of Demolition Man or Lethal Weapon.
I was just gonna say they copied him with John Spartan from Demolition Man.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of Dirty Harry, maybe a little bit of John McClane. There's you know, they pepper in some stuff in there, but at the end of the day, Tim Thomerson's already all of those dudes at once.
Yeah, and he's like, and half the time he's looking at the camera like, by the way, I am not Jack Death.
Yeah, just so you know, Brick Bardo. I think they say his name like probably a solid half dozen times more than they need to. To establish it. But basically, you know, he's this cop that has this reputation for solving some shit, but you know, it tends to get pretty violent. Movie essentially opens with him going to do his fucking laundry and running into this psycho fugitive that has ran into this laundromat and done one of the most genius things that I have ever encountered in a film. Okay. As somebody with a doughy exterior, I feel, you know, qualified to say that this is funny. You know, you don't have to worry about it being like fat shaming. It's just fucking funny.
I was sitting there saying like, wow, there's a lot of fat hate in this movie.
There is, but it's just because it's hysterical.
Yeah.
You know, he makes basically a bulletproof vest out of fat ladies in this laundromat, and he's holding everybody hostage. And Brick Bardo comes in to do his fucking laundry, and that's really all he's kind of concerned about. You know, he's not trying to be a hero. They keep pushing at them. The little kid, I especially love it, where he's like, "Whoa, that's the Kruger blaster. It's the most powerful handgun in the universe." Like, that's it's just such
I cackled. That like brought back memories of watching it the first time when he goes like, "That's right, fat boy."
Yeah.
I start laughing.
He doesn't even end up shooting anybody in that first scene. The fact that he pulls the gun out makes a couple of the fat ladies, I think,
Have a heart attack.
and then they fall on the perp, and I think they kill him by
Yeah,
falling on him.
they
or
crush
something.
him.
Yeah.
And the mayor still gets mad at him for for taking out the guy, but not actually killing anybody himself.
Yeah, but he's got that reputation, so
Yeah.
I think that he already knows that the press is going to do exactly what they do,
and they did,
and spin it into this cop is just this murderous fucking lone wolf. That
they show the news later, and they're like, yeah, he injured 37 people, and 2.6 people died.
Yeah, that's my favorite part.
And then they're like, well, 1.4 of those people was a kid.
2.7 of those people were fat ladies.
I was laughing so hard at that. I was like, that's funny as hell.
Don't say that, but that's probably how the math works out. I don't know.
Oh man.
But basically he's had it up to here with the authority anyways. That's kind of what those characters tend to be like. But he ends up getting kidnapped by these people, henchmen of Sprug. Sprug is this dude who Brick has ran into many times in the past. He's basically blown him away to the point where he is just a head floating around on, I guess, what we would recognize today as a drone of some kind.
Yeah, basically.
He's on this little hover platform that he floats around on. They have some really good back and forth when he's first kidnapped too, about how he there's some dick jokes in there. Let's just put it that way. Do you remember the exact dialogue, Chris?
It was like oh shit, I don't remember. And I just watched the movie like an hour ago. No, I don't remember.
There's so many little quotable.
I know, right? I remember the one at the very end.
Basically, he talks about how he shot off his Frankenbeans in addition to just about every other limb the dude had, and he's surprised there was enough left of him to save. And he has
among other things.
I love that too. How gross he looks when he's like,
"Oh, he goes, I blew off. Oh, I blew off not 2 but 3 of your legs." He's like, among other things.
Dude, Sprug, we got to give him hands down. Okay, if we were to do a Full Moon Avengers type universal thing, there somehow they would have to revive Sprug.
Yeah,
because he's got to be like the what's the dude that's
like MODOK,
Fly, like that, or like the dude that was the Fly in Turtles. What the fuck? How am I?
Baxter Stockman.
Baxter Stockman. I could see him being like the tech dude behind all these villains in that
technology. They're doing wonderful things.
Yeah, maybe he finally fucking gets his teeth cleaned. That'd be pretty sweet.
Oh God, yeah.
But Sprug, has a vendetta against Brick because obviously blew off his Frankenbeans and every other part of him. So he wants to see Brick die by his own weapon. So they've orchestrated this whole thing where they kidnap Brick. They take him out into this really fucking sweet looking post-apocalyptic, like
quarry,
desolate landscape. Where did they secure stuff? Like, is that like some war-torn place over somewhere? Is that?
I don't know if they shot this overseas. Like, I know they showed a lot of these movies in like Croatia and Romania and stuff like that. But I think this was shot in L.A.
Yeah, I feel like
so that had to have been like some industrial park that got demolished at some point, and it's just still sitting there like all this rubble because they pretty much shot the whole movie there.
Pretty much, and I'm sure they had permits. I don't feel like Full Moon's known for doing the trauma thing of just going in there and shooting it. So
until the cops show up,
it's a pretty sweet location to secure.
It looks cool.
They used it from several different angles in the movie and managed to make it feel like several different locations. And
managed not to get an airplane in the sky.
That like some of those movies. And the tint to the, like scenes when we're on Brick's planet make it feel very different to how it is. I don't know.
They kind of got like an orangey red filter on everything, just so when they reuse that set later on, it doesn't feel like it's the same place. Yeah,
that was the future, the past, or something.
Like no one will know. It's orange here and blue there. It's okay.
Exactly. It doesn't matter that the graffiti is the same.
Some of that graffiti was pretty like what?
Yeah, there was some of it.
There was one word on it, and I was just like, really?
Yeah, it wouldn't fly now.
Yeah, it's like 90s.
That out on 90s Plus or something.
Yeah. Like cover up Daryl Hannah's booty with Wookiee fur.
Yeah, exactly. But pretty much, this doesn't go well for them at all because Brick has what I now realize is like an action figure feature. You remember action figures with like magnetic palms and magnetic features? It didn't occur to me till this time somehow watching Dollman to prepare to discuss it with you, where I was like, wait a minute. That's just an action figure.
He's a
thing.
Jedi.
I always was like, what does it make? How they never explain the blue palm thing.
I was like, is he in Logan's Run?
Some shit, right? Like he's just
Carnival.
able to fucking summon his fucking gun and blow the dude into a million chunks of dog food.
Yeah,
and
which is awesome.
He does it a couple other times in the movie as well, and but now it dawns on me, Dollman, he's supposed to be an action figure. Basically, he's got the magnetic kung fu grip,
Yeah.
And so, he pretty much blows him away. I especially love the part where he's blown that one guy in half and he's just still smoking the cigarette.
What do you want, asshole?
He's still talking shit to him as he's just like a rib cage and a head.
Yeah, he's still smoking.
And there is some violence later in the movie, to be sure, but they get the ultra violent part out of the way real quick.
Yeah, they pulled a Brian De Palma with the first guy exploding when they show it from like 3 different angles.
Yeah, and then like, is that the same dude? I feel like he shoots the second guy. So it's like one dude he blows completely to smithereens.
Yeah, that's the guy that you see like from 3 different angles, and then he just like randomly just like pops the other guy, and you see pop, and then that's it.
Dude, and he's like, and then he's still there smoking like a Marlboro Light too. He's not even smoking a man's cigarette.
Marlboros are working every multiverse. I mean, come on.
Maybe on their fucking planet, atmosphere is different, and the Marlboro Light is like actually the Marlboro Super Red or something like that.
Their clothes.
Some type of, they just call them death sticks. But then pretty much, Sprue gets into his fucking flying saucer and takes off into, space. And Brick at this point, see, we're never really given any backstory, I don't think either, unless I missed it, about why Brick is so like, it's kind of like a death wish. Maybe it's just he's so fed up with being.
I think it's because of the wife and kid getting killed that he's just kind of like, I don't really have anything to live for anymore.
Oh yeah, they do mention that.
Yeah,
which is
he brings it up later on, and well, yeah, because Sprug even says like later, like I think it's when they're talking there, he's just kind of like, well, yeah, like, there wasn't even like when he says I blew you up into nothing, Sprug, and all that's left was a head rolling around. He goes like, well, modern medicine, they can fix anything except when I killed your wife and child, there wasn't enough to fix them.
Yeah, exactly, and it's so similar to his Jack Death background that it's easy to sort of misremember the two, I guess, because the only difference in Trancers is he didn't have a kid.
Yeah.
So they gave him the Punisher backstory in this one. Fucking, he's throw a little dash of the Punisher in there then too.
Yeah. Throw it at the wall, and if it sticks,
right. So pretty much, he pursues Sprug into space, and there's this thing called the energy band that surrounds their planet. I don't think we ever get any explanation on what that actually is. It's just a device to make them get hurtled through space to our planet, essentially.
Yep.
When they end up here, they're 1/6 the size of the people that inhabit our world. So it's a popular misconception with Dollman, and I've been guilty of saying it myself, that he gets shrunk down, but that's not actually the case.
Yeah,
he's normal sized. On his planet, he's like a normal sized human man, but on our planet, he's 1/6 of our size, which apparently they factored out to be 13 inches, which just makes average people over like
with an attitude.
What's the math on there? Yeah, with an attitude, which is just a built-in dick joke. I try to use it as such as often as possible. But let's do the math here real quick, because they're saying that he's 1/6 of our average size, right?
So if someone is like an average of 5'8" or 5'9".
So 78 inches divided by 12 would be 6.5 feet tall. That's not, their math is slightly skewed there. Yeah. So
it was just a cool tagline.
It really is, and I can't, if we're going back to the action figure thing, isn't like 13 inches.
That was like a premium, like the old G.I. Joe figures from like the 60s and 70s were like that tall. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's essentially what Dollman's supposed to be. On our planet, he ends up mixing in with what's her name?
Debbie.
I forget her name. Yeah, Debbie Alejandro, isn't it?
Yeah.
She is this lady that is like, single mom living in the slums, I guess you'd call it, the ghetto. She's trying to basically keep her kids safe from gangs while at the same time trying to clean up the neighborhood, get rid of all the drug dealers and stuff. So she's already at odds with these local toughs in the area, led by, Jackie Earle Haley's character. And I think his name is Braxton Reed.
Yeah, Braxton.
The name of his character in the film. Amazing performance, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But basically, Dollman crash lands on the planet right around the same time that, this gang that she's been fucking with has finally, some of the sub members have taken it upon themselves to take her out to this gross industrial complex and set her on fire with gasoline, which is pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
It's a really good indicator that this movie, while it is tamer than some full moon
aside from the exploding people and some of the gunshot wounds, I'd say it's pretty, because even when the guy explodes, there's not really like a blood anything, it's just like pieces.
He pretty much turns into chunks and mist.
But it's not like gore everywhere.
It's shocking to be sure.
For an R-rated movie, it is pretty tame.
It is, and even compared,
I think it's just because they drop the F-bombs so much.
They really do.
Yeah.
And I think that's about. There might be like a reference to rape at some point, and probably that F word written on the side of the van didn't help.
Yeah.
Maybe not even in the 90s. I mean, it was different times, but I'm sure they still weren't just signing off on that. Sure.
Gross.
Yeah. But, pretty much he crash lands right at the time they're doing this. He ends up saving her, and she ends up taking him home and his little spaceship. It's adorable. I always love that part.
I love how she's carrying his around and they show him inside just being knocked around.
I love the sound effect too, where he's like,
yeah.
it's so classic, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just good stuff. And I mean, when you're watching it on a CRT, at least they pull off him looking smaller than her pretty well. Mm-hmm. It's old school King Kong effects. They used it in the 70s one with Jeff Bridges and shit.
Yeah. Dwan.
So this pretty much mixes Brick Bardo in, not only with his whole situation with Sprug, but with this situation with this lady and this local gang of people that she's like fucking with and trying to get out of the neighborhood. It turns out Braxton used to be like friends with her husband or whatever before he got killed because of his gang banging. These guys end up hooking up with Sprug, who promises them like a dimensional bomb in exchange for helping him kill Brick Bardo.
Dimensional bomb, aka a Coke can and bendy straw painted silver.
It works, man. It'll nuke the whole fucking city. My favorite element to that too is how Sprug tells him, like, you'll be the kings of whatever is left.
Yeah,
like he's not.
And then when the bomb goes off, spoiler alert, when the bomb goes off, that's like, it looks exactly the same as it was before it went off.
Yeah, it pretty much blew up what was in that room. Maybe. Yeah,
it's like maybe the building went, but that was it.
But Sprug wasn't considering the scale. Is pretty much what was going on.
Doesn't seem to be the brightest villain in the Full Mooniverse.
He's not, man. I mean, that's why he needs somebody better, like the dude from Mandroid or something, to guide his evil intentions.
I got Radu in there somewhere, man.
Hey, Full Moon Revengers. Let's make it a thing.
I would totally watch that 100 times.
There's so many good possibilities to it. I mean, you throw Brick Bardo in there along with Mandroid, Benjamin Knight from Invisible. You got the girl from Dark Angel. You got Dr. Mordred. Their lame fucking Best Western version of Blade that they did for the movie Crips. And you've got a solid Full Moon Revengers team right there. And then you add in all the villains Full Moon has had, which they've always excelled at over the years.
You got the head of the family just sitting there.
Yeah. You got Red Eye from Oblivion and Myron from Head of the Family.
Yeah, no problem.
Dr. Drago or whatever his name is from Man.
Yeah, Brian Thompson from Cabal from
fucking lips and his luxurious mullet. I mean, that's
he's like, check out my glorious pecs.
It could be something special. It's a shame they didn't get on that sooner instead of making a billion.
If like, I will say that if they were making these movies now, it might have been a thing with everyone trying to create some sort of shared universe.
Full Moon kind of had that going on before, though.
They just didn't capitalize.
They really didn't, but they did have the seeds of it, like even back in the 90s. And that's where the whole Full Moon Revengers idea comes from. I think it's just a shame that we never got it, because they're hinting at it at the end of certain movies there. Like, I think it's the end of Mandroid or Invisible, where they talk about visiting the city from Dollman and the city from Dr. Mordred. So
I would have been so down for that.
somebody had the idea, but essentially, yeah, that puts him in the mix of this situation. You know, both sides kind of come together and create the conflict of the movie, and that leads to a bunch of really cool stuff. You said you had a few pages of notes, though, and I haven't peed in like 3 hours, so I'm going to go ahead and do that while you rock up a couple of facts for the fine people here.
Yeah, one of the things I usually do when I watch movies is I kind of look for continuity errors and stuff like that. And for some reason, they stick out to me. So while I was watching the movie earlier today, I noticed like a whole bunch of them, like when Brick first lands on Earth and he takes out the guys that are trying to burn Debbie alive. He's kind of trying to walk away from Debbie as she's like creeping on him and following him, like, because she can't believe that there's like a little mini man walking around right in front of her. And he like goes to reload his gun while she's staring at him. And he kind of does it like behind his coat. He kind of like hides from her and you hear him reloading it. And then like 2 seconds later, he walks up to the door to his ship and he reloads it again for some reason. But for this time, the magazine for the gun is basically 3 times longer than the gun. Like the handle itself is maybe from my thumb to the bottom of my hand, and the magazine is like coming out like an extra 1.5 feet, and you see him like sticking it in there, and I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, we've had I was hoping that you would bring this up, or one of us would. We've had many conversation about that around these parts, most recently between me and my buddy Manolo, and we came to the conclusion through much suspension of disbelief and mental gymnastics that he's charging it somehow.
I thought it would have been funny if it was like, I don't know if you ever saw Ultraviolet, that Mila Jovovich movie.
Long time ago.
Okay.
Probably
she has like her weapons are like in a pocket universe that are controlled by these bracelets on her wrist, so she can like call weapons that she has in this pocket universe into existence when she needs them. So I'm sitting there going like, is this gun like a pocket universe thing? He's just shoving the bullets into the pocket universe in his gun so he can shoot him, because that cartridge is seriously like 3 times longer than his gun.
Even as long as it is, he seems to shoot way more bullets than could ever possibly be in the thing, you know? And so
you think since he doesn't have backups, he's not on his home planet anymore, he'd be like trying to conserve that shit as much as possible.
No, bro.
But he's like, nah.
I'm surprised he wasn't opening doors that way and shit through half the way.
it took like 13 shots to take down people. He's like shooting them 3 or 4 times. And it's like, dude, you saw 1 shot take out Vince Klin.
Yeah, he's fucking unloading. He lights up an entire hallway at one point, all the way down the stairs.
Yeah, you see Jackie Hurley like running down the stairs, being followed by like bullet holes in the wall.
He does get tagged by one in that too, which leads to a cool point about the weaponry. But yeah, it's like, I guess the conclusion we kind of came to is that it's somehow charging it with energy, and it maybe like compacts through some future tech like particles in the air into these bullets that it then.
It's a movie about a guy that's this tall. I'm not going to think too deep about it.
Yeah, exactly. The deepest you want to think into it is he's either got unlimited ammo or not. Okay.
Yeah.
He did the up, down, left, right fucking shit before he arrived on Earth.
30 lives.
He's good. I think though that one of the coolest things about his weaponry is that they scale it down for Earth, right? Mm-hmm. Like on his planet, he blew the dude to smithereens
with 1 shot.
I've shown this movie because, as you know, this is. I still credit it as this. It's not my favorite full moon movie of all time. I often fluctuate on what that would be, but Dollman will always get my vote for being the most well-rounded full moon movie of all time, because you can just put it in for anybody. They're going to have a kick-ass time. And I've never seen anybody question why the gun doesn't blow people away in the same way once he arrives on Earth, because it's so obvious that it would scale.
Well, it's even kind of cool that like the damage that it does to people is basically the size of one of his his size.
Yeah. So if they were that small or whatever, it would blow them to
they're a grease stain.
What do you think of Debbie Alejandro as a kid?
So, like I said, I hadn't watched this in like 20 years before watching it maybe like 3 months ago or whatever. And I liked that her introduction is her basically trying to stone a drug dealer to death.
Yeah.
She's like, get the fuck out of my neighborhood, motherfucker! She's throwing stones at him and shit. I was just kind of like, okay, that's cool. They don't make her an instantly like, oh, what am I going to do? There's drug dealers everywhere. Don't bug them. They're going to hurt me kind of thing. She's like, fuck y'all.
Right. Yeah.
I like that they kind of made her like strong-willed, female character.
And she's pretty much like that the entire time, too.
I have to give... Obviously, she gets kidnapped later.
She does, and she handles it like a boss, man. I mean, she's never, like, whimpering or crying. She's pretty much right there, like, why don't you just cut this shit out, dude? It's fucking stupid,
Yeah.
And I love that, man. I think Full Moon doesn't get enough credit for, because there's lots of talk nowadays about, objectified women or whatever, and Full Moon's certainly been guilty of that in the best kind of ways. It was always all in good fun, but they also have had a lot of strong female characters over the years. I
really appreciated that.
Yeah, look at Dark Angel alone. It's
that movie, like, even watching it nowadays, because that was one of the ones that was in my rotation big time back in the day, and I watch that now and I'm just kind of like, I can still appreciate it now, even how cheap and cheesy it is. Like they're doing something special with that one.
He performs like a Mortal Kombat fatality on that rapist in the park, and I think that just about anybody watching that scene is going to be fucking hyped on it. Especially
she's essentially Natara from Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance. That's all she really is in that movie.
The way I always describe the movie is like Splash or Little Mermaid if you mixed in Satan.
Yeah.
If you put Satan and Gore,
it's basically Splash with the demon. Yeah.
Exactly. And the dude is, I don't know. I mean, we could have used some Tom Hanks in there, but in some alternate universe, he was a Full Moon regular.
Yeah, he was the Jeffrey Combs of Full Moon.
Oh man,
in the multiverse.
That'd be such a weird universe to fucking wake up in one day.
That means that eventually Tom Hanks would have been in every. Yeah, that means that in that universe, Tom Hanks would have been in every iteration of Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh man, if they could get him in there playing a kid in a man's body, that would be pretty fucking sweet.
My god, give me Jeffrey Combs doing that.
In that same alternate universe, Jeffrey Combs danced on that giant piano. So
that's no shit. Jeffrey Combs is screaming, Wilson!
Yeah. I could actually see him pulling off most of the serious Tom Hanks roles.
I've always felt that Jeffrey Combs is like an underrated actor. That guy you could throw him in a nothing role and he will make it into gold.
Oh, dude, if Jeffrey Combs had been in this as Sprug, I feel like it would have been a guaranteed trilogy.
Everything he touches.
But basically, where are we at here? I think that, we pretty much have covered everything leading up to the main kickoff of the conflict, and that's when these dudes come to her house, and he ends up blowing away a bunch of that dude's henchmen. So he's already pissed off at this Dollman that killed a bunch of his men, and that's how Sprug's able to kind of get him to come around a little bit. It's short-lived though. It's probably one of the shortest lived like main villain henchman situations.
Yeah, that's I got to give him credit for that too. For like they make you think he's going to be the big bad of the movie, and they're just like, nah.
No, Jackie Earle Haley is way too good to fucking waste it on Sprue.
He's got an Oscar in him somewhere. They knew it. Albert Pugh knew what was going on, man.
Dude,
he's like, I can see the future.
I love how he just squishes Sprug.
And just after he helped his ass out too, he just healed him.
Well, that's
like, by the way, now you're working for me. No.
Yeah, because when they initially come to her house, to Debbie's house, and try to strong arm her, and Brick blows all of them away, he does wing Jackie Earle Haley with a bullet. And it turns out that not like on a larger scale on Brick's planet, the bullet would have just blown him into a fine red mist. But on our planet, it creates like a degenerative failure in your fucking on an organic level, right?
Yeah, it's like getting shot with like an acid bullet or something.
Yeah, that mixed with like some type of weird, I don't know, man.
Like necrotic. It's like in D&D terms, it like does necrotic damage.
Yeah, it destroys you on a molecular level, like a brown recluse bite or something fucking gnarly like that,
Yeah.
So
because even Spruce when he's healing was, I hope you don't have any internal bleeding.
Yeah, it's and then he ends up killing him before Sprug has had another pass over his wounds, which is where he really fucks up. And One of the best performance elements of the movie, I think, is Jackie Earle's character like progressively getting sicker and angrier as the movie goes on,
because he knows he fucked up. He's like, just in the words of Herman Cain, blame yourself.
Pretty much, it's your fault, bro. Dude, his performance in this is riveting. I love every moment of it. It goes from like being campy and kind of fun and him just playing like a street tough dude to eventually devolving or evolving into a proper performance where he's like getting sickly and angry and he's really letting it out, man. I feel like this guy probably had some frustrations with not making it in the movie business at the time.
And this is my big shot.
Yeah, maybe not even. Maybe it was like that, but coupled with like a "fuck you too" kind of a thing with it too, because he's really going hard at the end of Dollman.
Because I don't think he'd been in anything since like the last Bad News Bears movie.
I'm sorry. We're sorry, Jackie. I feel you.
Yeah. I think the thing about him is like why he would like disappear and then reappear in films. I think he does like a ton of theater.
True.
And I think that's why he would disappear and then he'd be like, well, I got offered a role in a movie. I'm going to go do that for a while. And then all of a sudden, boom, he explodes.
And when you watch him in the video zone for this, he seemed like he genuinely thought it was just a fun idea.
Yeah.
You know? And that's
actors want to have fun too.
True, but a lot of those theater dudes especially seem to only show up in movies where they're at least, it might not be our favorite roles of theirs, but they're roles that you can tell it's like, I can see why this dude did that, you know. And with somebody like Jackie Earle Haley, I guess I could see why you would do this. If someone pitched me Dollman, we would both think it was a fun idea.
Oh yeah. I never really got the idea while I was watching him, like, oh, the rent was due kind of situation where he it was like they gave him the script. They're like, hey, we think you'd be great for this role. He read the script and he goes, this is awesome. Like, I totally need to do this. This looks like super fun.
And it is. And man, does he add a special element to it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's eventually what this boils into is, you know, he kidnaps Debbie Alejandro's character in an effort to lure out the Dollman so he can take revenge from basically obliterating this whole gang.
Yeah.
You know, by the end of the movie, it's really just Jackie Earle Haley. We get a really good shootout where Brick Bardo comes to rescue Debbie from the ruins of this industrial complex. And thankfully, he blows up that offending van that we've mentioned several times.
I was hoping, I didn't remember if that actually did happen or not, but when it happened, I was like, yes.
They do some really cool forced perspective stuff in there, some really cool stuff with miniature sets. I mean, really, once you hit like that, I forget what the fancy film term is, like the third act of the movie or whatever, is where I think, I think that's where a lot of the production, like, quality really shines in it.
Yeah, it was like they're saving the budget for that part of the movie.
Yeah, and there's several explosions. Like, once that third or fourth explosion goes off from the second or third angle, you know that you're watching. Like, they were putting some stuff into this, you know?
Yeah, that's Albert Pune going like, I didn't spend all the money on hookers and blow.
Yeah, there it is. That was one hooker and two blows.
That I didn't get.
Exactly. Or did I? Yeah, man. I mean, they really kill it during that whole final sequence of it leading up to their final finale against each other, which is just one of the most savage moments in Full Moon history, I think. He blows off Jackie Earle's arm, and then he ends up getting the gun.
That's so funny because they just show his arm, just like they are constantly showing that forced perspective shot of his arm just like twitching in the foreground.
Right. It's so good. And then when he picks up the Kruger blaster and he's like holding it like some novelty lighter you would buy at a fucking flea market.
And he did it with a straight face, so I got to give him credit again. He just kind of like totally like, yeah.
Oh, dude, he was in it. Like at the end, he has that slack-faced like psycho look going on there.
Yeah, he's got the blood coming out of his nose and his mouth and shit. Yeah.
I think that might be the origin of the whole idea too of Jack picking up Brick and pointing him, and then Brick pointing the gun and shooting. Like,
I totally want to see that in a movie now.
But I mean, you know, I think that the finale works. It all works perfectly. That's why Dollman's the most well-rounded, man. Even the little bit of an inkling of a romantic relationship that they put into Dollman is handled very subtly and in that way that absolutely does not take away from the 55 minutes made to seem like 80 minutes runtime. It is, you said it best before we got in here. It really is a 55-minute movie that's had a couple of montages shot around it, or put together rather. The first one they shot, and that's the one that I wanted to touch on at the beginning of this, but I think you'll appreciate touching on now. So, okay, after Brick goes through the energy band with Sprug and ends up on Earth, we are treated to the most 80s montage to ever happen in the 90s.
Montage ever montage.
It's just such a slamming song, dude. There's a reason that whole theme has always been the music I've used for my pickup videos for this series, and it's just because it is such a banging little perfect tune to loop over miscellaneous nonsense, but it's basically just inner city stuff, and then these guys rob a place and shoot the
guy. It's like I heard a couple stories about gang life, and this is what it's like. No, it's not. Dude, everybody wears the headbands, and
looks like a member of Suicidal Tendencies or something.
Yeah, they all wear the button up shirt with just the top button. Yeah,
walk like this.
Yeah, okay. They're all crip walking.
Dude, I always feel like it would, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like you could edit this perfectly with like just an insert shot on the right camera of like a pizza man walking down the street and then putting the pizza into a grate and then edit it into the turtles getting the pizza below the grate, like right below where the dude was.
You can make that seem creepy. You don't show the turtles, you just see the pizza just disappear through the grate.
And a hand just comes up.
What's down there?
Yeah. I just always feel like it's going to end with the Ninja Turtles getting a pizza. Like that's every time
for free, because no one pays for late delivery.
Maybe, dude, it does kind of have a little bit in common with the thievery montage in the Ninja Turtles movie where the Foot Clan are like stealing stereos and TVs. I feel like that's got a similar sort of a really crappy electronic synth like beat over it,
Over at the East Warehouse on Ladman Island.
We got all the cigarettes, ketchup, and birthday cake you want over here. You come hang out with us. Maybe we'll go spray paint an aquarium later or something. I feel like there's an overlap between all those kids and movies.
They all were part of the gang at some point, right? Yeah. And then they transitioned to the Foot.
At least it led to him freeing a fucking orca at some point. I don't know, man. Do you have anything that you think that we have missed up to this point?
Like story wise?
Yeah.
Not really. They don't really develop any of the characters all that well. I think the most you get about Brick is when he tells Debbie about his wife and kid. Being killed. Oh, I had a wife and I had a kid once, but they were killed, and that's about it. That's pretty much all you're gonna get. It's basically all about the gimmick and the action.
Pretty much. I mean, she can kind of relate to Brick because her husband was also killed through the gangbanging or whatever, which left her and her kid alone. So it basically sets it up where her and her kid are exactly what Brick is missing.
Yeah.
If it was a Trancers movie, they would have banged several times, and we would have. And
he would have known while he was banging, he would have been shot backed up the line.
yeah, exactly. Such a classic moment. And we would have maybe not seen her tits, but we would have seen a tasteful shot from the back as she was covering them up.
Them side boobs.
Yeah. What was her name?
Helen Hunt.
Helen Hunt, yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to say Megan Ward, but I'm already thinking ahead in discussions here.
That's TikTok.
We'll get some Megan for both of us in here at some point. I know we're both fans.
Yum, yum, yum.
That's about the only thing I can think of that they really missed out in terms of because even their backstories really doesn't matter that much for a full moon movie. The romantic element, I could see that being fleshed out if they hadn't montaged it up so much. That would have been
the relationship is summed up at the very end by a dick joke.
Pretty much. We don't really get to see it progress beyond them kind of looking at each other, and that's about
tell me size doesn't matter. It's like, man. Okay.
I wonder though if he flew her through I'd probably just turn her into jelly. I was gonna say maybe if he flew her through the energy band in the sequel, she would end up
God.
his size, and they could have like a Honey I Shrunk the Penis kind of a situation going over there. Or
Although I will say that scene where he goes through the energy band thing, I was like, ladies, if you ever wanted to watch Tim Thomerson drool all over himself for 3 minutes, this is the movie for you.
yeah, dude, he's in there. He's like, it's,
and even when he wakes up after he crashes, he goes,
It's so good, dude. I love all the stuff with his ship too, because the miniature they built matched the full size thing so well.
Yeah.
They really knew how to do that stuff back then, even on a low budget, where it was like, I buy it, you know.
There's another one of those continuity errors I noticed that during those scenes with the ship is like when the little kid is looking at him in the house. When she brings the ship to the apartment, the kid's looking in the ship, and you can see Brick's head like in the window in the cockpit. And he's wearing sunglasses, and then when they show him looking back at the kid, he's not wearing them.
True enough, but
I was like,
he was pretty irritable during those scenes too. So I could see him whipping it off and being like,
just
what?
like, just wanted him to go like, fuck off. Daddy needs to sleep.
She's trying to keep it on the down low too, and that kid invites over his nerd friend, and then that turns into inviting like the whole apartment complex to come oogle Brick. You know,
like, what is this? Batteries not included?
Pretty much, dude. They were, I think, going for a little bit of that, and nobody seemed to think it was odd that there was this tiny irritable man in the spaceship in their living room. You know?
Like the cops or like the scientists from ET and all that shit didn't show up and try to take him away.
That would have been so fucking funny, dude. It would have been so sweet.
If they wanted to extend the movie somehow, there is where you do it. Right there is like all of a sudden, like the government shows up. They're like, we got an extraterrestrial. We got to bring him back with us. Yeah.
It turns out fucking Brick is linked to the kid like ET. So while he's at the house, he breaks into their fridge and like drinks half a can of beer, or like, you know, tries to drink a whole can of beer as a little 12.
I could just see the joke of like you see Brick like drinking this giant can of beer, and then you see him laying on the floor like a scene later. He's got this big belly.
Yeah.
Like in Gremlins or something.
That would have been amazing. See, stuff they could have done in sequels, man.
Yeah, just to play with it a little bit more, like the whole idea of like a little person like that.
It was fun. It was different too to what Full Moon was doing with their other little stuff. You know, we had little creatures, we had little dolls, but we didn't have like little people to tap into that part of all of us that loves Honey I Shrunk the Kids, or at least the idea of it. And Dollman was kind of that, and I think that might be a big part of why it appealed to me so much back then, and still does. I don't know, man. I guess now is a good time to go into more of the technical aspects of it. I mean, we've touched on the effects, but what do you think of the effects on a you know, really?
I don't really think it was like a priority for them when they were making the movie. Because I want to say that there's those two shots at the beginning of the movie where we're on Brick's planet and you see like a cityscape and you see like a flying ship go by and all that. I think that's recycled from another movie.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think those shots are recycled from something that Empire had done. Maybe, but I can't be positive. Maybe Arena or something.
Maybe, yeah. I think.
But I mean, it looked too good for like when we get the spaceship shots, like in space. They look really janky.
They did. They do the job. I think the actors inside portraying the action do it a better job than some meaty-ass squib effects or squibs in here, though.
Yeah,
and I will give them that.
The practical effects for like the action scenes are pretty rad.
Yeah, and blowing up the dudes was pretty sick too, and the guy being there like clearly they buried him under some fake rubble, probably.
Yeah.
And you know,
just threw some gunk on him.
But it's just good stuff. And that one explosion that we do get is, I don't know. You made a good point that it's so quick, and they do show it from multiple angles, but it's like so almost exaggerated that it doesn't feel explicit. But I'd put it right there with stuff like the head explosion from Scanners and things like that. I mean, you don't expect the entire fucking dude to blow up.
I remember when I had back when I first saw Dollman, I had already seen The Fury, that Brian De Palma movie about the psychics. That was kind of like a ripoff of Scanners. And the movie ends with one of the scanner type people making a guy explode, and Brian De Palma films it from like 13 different angles and just cuts to each angle of the person exploding Like even like an upward angle, the person's head pops up and goes right toward the camera.
It's beautiful.
And when I saw Dollman, I was like, someone saw the Fury.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, it's a good explosion deserves to be paid homage to.
A lot of money went into this. We want to make the most of it.
Yeah, and then with Dollman, there's more like not a lot of money went into this, so here's two different angles. Yeah.
But I got to give credit to what's his name out to Albert Pune also, because like I remember like the first movie of his I saw was Sword and the Sorcerer. I saw that in the drive-in when I was like 6.
Just recently got announced for what is it? A Scream Factory?
I got the 4K.
Release? Or you did? It did come out.
It came out like a month ago.
Cool.
Yeah, I watched that shit the day it showed up. But like I'm watching it now, I'm like, my parents took me to see this in the drive-in when I was 6. What the hell were they smoking?
Yeah, that's
but like as his career went on, his movies got like cheaper and cheaper looking. But the thing is, like, he's like the king of making nothing into something. Because like that whole opening scene with the laundromat and all that stuff, it's like Charles Band says, I was able to secure you an alley between 2 buildings for your shoot today. He's like, I'm going to make 45 sets out of it.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah.
Me and Gory were talking previously. I don't know if you're familiar with the movie The Phantom Empire by Fred Olen Ray.
No,
it's got Michelle Bauer up in there, titties all out all over the place. It's glorious. It's got Brink Stevens isn't in there. That tall blonde lady that was always in a bunch of those kind of movies. Big old babies on her. No. It'll come to me. But the point is they used this specific cave down in California that's been used for a bunch of movie shots, only they make it look like it's like about 1 billion times bigger than it actually is. And I feel like Full Moon was always really good about doing that, you know. I feel like the only time they didn't have to cheat was when they were shooting in like those castles in Romania and shit like that, where they actually had
like we got to make use of everything in here.
Yeah, a lot of times it's
production
like
budget.
Babylon 5 style, where they've got 2 hallways that they built and they just keep moving around the configuration of them. And I love the idea of that. I mean, that's what attracts me to low budget movies. It's creating a world out of nothing, like you said, and it's a beautiful thing to be seen done. And they do a lot of that with Dollman. Another effects part that I feel like probably doesn't hold up so well, but is still hilarious to behold nonetheless, is when he jumps out the window and lands on the side of that car.
You can see that as like a little action figure that they threw out the window.
Yeah, that's the only point in this movie when I show it to people that haven't seen it where I'm kind of embarrassed for it, you know, where I'm like, oh God, there's that scene.
Although I was cracking up when they do the close-up shot of him like flying through there and he like lifts his glasses up like I just did that.
Yeah, that is great. And then, dude, a fun touch to that a lot of people don't pick up is the glasses are still up as he's hanging on, and then when they go over the railroad
slowly lower.
I
was cracking up when that happened.
So fun.
Yeah.
So I guess favorite characters. You got a favorite character in Dollman?
Sprague?
Sprague's a solid candidate.
I mean, like, the safe answer is obviously to go with Brick, but
I mean, I agree.
I probably got to say it's what was his? I can't remember his name now. Jackie Earle Haley's character.
Oh,
Braxton. Just because how batshit crazy he gets at
Braxton
the end.
Reed, yeah, it's hard to deny that. I agree, Gory. Michelle Bauer was the best character in the movie, and she wasn't even in it, so that's saying some shit. But yeah, it's hard to deny Jackie Earle's performance in Dollman. I think though that fucking what's her name? I keep forgetting. Debbie Alejandro. Yeah. Why do I keep wanting to call her Kamala Lopez? Is that's
her name? No, honestly, my notes I have Kamala written every time.
Yeah. Okay. So she's probably my favorite character, man.
Yeah.
There's just something so fucking adorable about her, and it all comes back to that scene where she first finds Brick, and she's like, "He's so small." Like the way she says it always.
She's looking through the cockpit window. She's like, "Hey."
It gives me such a crush on her for some reason, and she probably has a concussion. I don't think that says anything about me.
It's just her voice. She's covered in gasoline. She was almost just immolated. It's okay, but yeah,
that's not.
She can
why
still be adorable.
I think that scene's hot. I just think that she's hot, even covered in gasoline with a concussion.
Michelle Bauer was the one in Phantom Empire. Okay.
Yeah, she is. Yeah,
okay.
She's running around in there, just looking amazing. They actually had to put a jacket on her in the final scene for a certain cut so they could get an R rating, which is funny because her boobs are just out for most of the movie. She plays like a prehistoric cave chick. So, but does it with a surprising amount of like cool acting ability, you know. Like she gets the point across. Well, yeah,
Point?
you know, acting ability. She would have been a credit to this movie. I feel like she could have played the cop. That guy was pretty useless. And Michelle Bauer,
Nicholas, or was it Nicholas Guest or?
Yeah, I believe so. Michelle Bauer in a pantsuit would have been fine for that segment of the movie. I'd have enjoyed that.
Also, one of the things I noticed, like now that I've been watching a lot more of Albert Pune stuff, is he likes to reuse a lot of the same actors in his movies. Like Nicholas Guest has been in a ton of them. That little kid that played Debbie's son is in Arcade.
He is,
yeah. Nicholas Guest is in like all the Nemesis movies. Trying to think.
See, I'm pretty much
Vincent Klin was in Cyborg.
Cyborg, I know.
Yeah.
But other than that, maybe I'm pretty much just familiar with him through Full Moon, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
What else did he do? Wait, didn't he do like one of the Watchers movies?
Pune?
I feel like he did like part 3, the one where it's the.
He might have. I wouldn't be surprised. I know he did all the Nemesis movies. He did this one called Adrenaline that we had at the video store that I worked at with Natasha Henstridge and Christophe Lambert.
Yeah. I like how you say his name properly. I always say it Christopher Lambert.
I'm just afraid that one day I'm going to say it, and also I'm just going to get slapped out of nowhere.
He's just going to Highlander you and fucking. Yeah. I wish Highlanders were real, man. Something I think about fairly frequently.
As you should.
Yeah, I think everybody should dedicate a certain amount of time every week to just imagining what your life would be like if you were a Highlander. You'd probably appreciate your mortal world a little bit more. I don't know, man. So favorite characters are out of the way. What do you got for favorite scenes? And the way I usually run this is you got to pick one favorite scene, but you can have a couple honorable mentions, of course. You know.
I mean, I got to go with the obvious. Mine is the dude exploding at the beginning. It's just I remember like back in the day, I did not see that coming. Like oh, the Kroger Blaster, the most powerful handgun in the universe. Like, yeah, okay, whatever, kid. And then boom,
might blow their head up. You know,
I
mean, I don't know if you were in a similar boat, but I thought maybe it'll be a cool headshot. Like it'll be like Scanners, where his head just blows up. You know.
No,
but not the whole dude.
Yeah. And it's like, and they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to show you this 3 times,
just in case you missed it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got what would be your 2 runner-ups?
Debbie trying to stone the drug dealer, just because it makes me laugh a little bit and kind of like also like her a little bit more. Another runner-up. Sprue getting splatted.
Yeah, that's a solid one. Just because again, much. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say it's like because it comes out of nowhere because you think he's gonna be in the whole movie, and nope, I guess not.
Yeah, it's very similar to the dude blowing up. Like you don't expect it to go that south that fast. The first time I saw it, well, I can't speak to that because I was like 10. But the first time I saw it again, I feel like I was hoping, I was expecting him to be like, "Look, don't fuck with me, little man." Or something like that. But Braxton just squishes his ass.
Yeah.
You know?
And it looks like they made his body out of Alka-Seltzer because it's like fizzing as they show the remains.
Yeah, it's a good touch.
But but of all the movies to pull a Psycho kind of twist, Dollman.
Right? Yeah. You know, you think he's going to be the main dude, and doesn't.
Like, nope, that's Jennifer, or what is her name? Janet Leigh. That's Janet Leigh right there. I just saw it. Yeah.
And he could literally go down the drain too.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
I think that my favorite scene is sort of adjacent to yours. The explosion is the one that you're tempted to go for, but I'm a huge fan of that dude just blown in half, talking shit to Brick while still smoking a cigarette. I think at one point he gets mad and throws the cigarette.
That's when he does that. What do you want, asshole?
Yeah, I love it. It's just so kind of unsettling, but also funny. You know, it fits exactly that brand of like splatter entertainment that I tend to enjoy. But if I had to pick a couple of runners up, one of them would definitely have to be when they first come back to the bar and they're telling Braxton about the Dollman, and he doesn't believe him, and that one dude's like bleeding on his pool table. And I forget exactly what he says, but he just shoots him. He's like,
he
"You
goes,
see
that's
what you
my
made me
fucking pool
do?"
table, man.
I just love that where he fucking shoots him. He's like, "You see what you made me do?" It reminds me of like something you'd see in like Casino or Goodfellas or something. Yeah,
They're like, what? I'm ha funny.
yeah, exactly. Some shit like that. And then obviously, you know, runner up to that would be him squishing Sproogs. So we're on the same page there. I don't know. We left anything out? We did favorite characters, favorite scenes. We talked about the production, special effects. I think we're about good in terms of covering it. What would you have done for an immediate Dollman sequel? Is a fun talking point. I mean, we kind of did get an immediate one where he wanders. Okay, if we're following the timeline that we will cover in our subsequent discussions here, because spoiler alert, Chris is coming back for Demonic Toys and Dollman versus Demonic Toys.
Gotta cover the saga.
Yeah, exactly. We're skipping bad channels, but they retcon the events of that anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. We can just talk about the bumper scene when we get there. But basically, in the bumper scene, he just kind of wanders from this point. I guess he just bails on Debbie.
Yeah.
And
he's like, fuck the city.
Yes, I don't want no goddamn stepson, and he just fucking leaves across the country. I don't want no stepson.
Like, my stepson's taller than me. This is some bullshit.
Yeah. And so he just leaves and he goes to some little town in the middle of fucking nowhere where supposedly there's supposed to be. It makes some sense he would be coming there because there's a girl there that's supposed to be his size, you know. And then that's where we're ushered into the events of Dollman versus Demonic Toys. But you could argue that there's some room in there for a sequel between the two, you know. So what would you do for a Dollman sequel? That's just
well, I would have kept that bumper after Bad Channels as like the point you want to be at the end of the sequel,
right?
So like, how did he get to that point? And I would do it something like, you know how we've done the urban setting, let's do another setting, let's like take this into the burbs or something. Like maybe they're like settling down as a family unit or something like that in the burbs. They finally got out of the city, she goes back to school or whatever, and then some bullshit happens. Huh? There you go. That kid staying on his roof.
Instead of him home aloneing the dudes, fucking Brick is just shooting
some kid across the street's got a whole bunch of like mini dinosaurs in the backyard hanging out.
No, but more seriously, yeah, like put it in the suburbs. You think would be a fun
way? I think that'd be kind of fun to see, like what like him. It'd be kind of like I do it like as an action comedy, kind of more on the funny side of like him trying to like make it work in the suburbs, since obviously he was living in a city
and he was trying to
sort of place on his own planet, and he basically went to the same thing on our planet,
right? Like, and he was clearly trying to settle down in Dollman versus Demonic Toys by seeking out Bunny or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see him trying to make it work with Debbie and her kid, and it just obviously doesn't work out. And that's why he's like on the road at the end.
True, but in our perfect scenario, they would die because that would create a conflict for him later when we form the Full Moon Revengers. Is that he can finally,
get some, like whenever trouble he ends up finding in the burbs, like, you know, I don't know, maybe it could be Satan worshippers living next door, like in the burbs or something like that. You know, but cool. Yeah, they end up dying, and that's like his big thing now is, you know, got to avenge the wife.
Exactly. That would be super sick. That's probably, actually, I can agree with that more. I think then obviously the clear third movie would be the Dollman versus Demonic Toys, where he tries it again, and maybe then after that it actually succeeds, but they get swept up into this whole thing where he has a chance to avenge, you know, Debbie's death or whatever.
Here you go. Here's one for you though. Okay, so let's do the way the first phase of Marvel worked, where you had like Iron Man, then Iron Man 2, then the Avengers, then Iron Man 3. So say we get Dollman 2, then Dollman versus Demonic Toys, and then Dollman 3 after that. Where would Dollman 3 go?
Well, that sets him up on his entry into the Revengers.
Well, no, like say the Revengers happens. Like, okay, and instead of Dollman versus Demonic Toys, I mean, the Revengers thing happens like the Avengers did, and then you get the follow-up sequel with the one character. Like say the Revengers happens, and then you get Dollman 3.
Well, okay, because we're not gonna waste him getting revenge for Debbie's death
Hmm.
on a full-scale Revengers movie, right? It would be something like the Avengers did, where it was a more global threat that they
Yeah,
dealt with together, and then his next movie would
would be
be
the final
us
revenge.
closing that chapter,
Yeah,
yeah. Uh, and then, maybe we set up some new motivations for other things in there with him, like it turns out the kid would have died. I don't know. There's cool ways we
maybe
could
he
take it
faked his
after that,
death and he's really the evil mastermind.
but it would be cool to do that. And we're also missing an opportunity here for Full Moon to do like an Old Man Logan style movie with an Old Man Brick type flick. Just saying, Charlie.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I think that would probably be where I would take it after a Revengers movie. Now, if we were to do a Revengers movie, the first one's obviously got to have like the Sinister Six type thing going on, where these guys all come together for some world domination scheme.
hmm
What Full Moon villains? We talked about a couple, but what would you include as the Rogues Gallery? At least the main one to start it off with a Full Moon Revengers thing.
I don't know if Radu would actually leave Romania. I mean, I would love to have Radu there as like the mastermind, but I would probably have like the head of the family guy be like Mother Brain kind of
Right.
situation. I'd have the guy from Head of the Family do that. I'd probably have not the puppets from Puppet Master since they kind of like became good guys at some point. Uh, I definitely
They,
have some of the demonic toys in there.
yeah,
Um,
random cannon fodder.
I'd make the
They're
sea
not
people.
gonna.
I'd make like the Chitari from the Avengers, which were like the generic army. I'd have it be like sea people,
Hell yes.
just like random people you can kill. Um,
Drago from Mandroid and Invisible has to be in there because that
yeah,
dude was like one of the best villains Full Moon's ever had. He's so fucking slimy and his mask is so cool. He's like the Doctor Doom of Full Moon's universe.
you'd have to have Cabal in there.
Of course.
Yeah, they have to have the magic user. Um, I want to say I put Radu in there, even though I don't think he would actually leave Romania. But
Radu and Sprug, I feel like would be more of those behind the scenes tactician support characters in the Sinister Six situation here,
yeah,
where like Radu might supply a bunch of like vampiric, um,
yeah,
yeah,
his little mini vampire people.
what fledglings,
There you go, and there's what Dollman and the girl from Bad Channels can fight her. The little
the
vampire
fledglings,
thing. Yeah, the
the little
fledglings.
fucking the subspecies and
Yeah,
and
watch
the
them
fledglings.
explode when they shoots him with the Kroger blaster.
Uh, who else is a big villain in there? Of course, you already put Myron, but I think we'd have to have at least one of those mad scientists from what is he, Dr. Lazar from Hideous?
Yeah,
That guy would be a cool dude to have on their side somehow, genetically engineering the seed people to do their bidding.
and like as like a Easter eggy type of thing, maybe throw a couple of Empire characters in there. Like maybe have like Jared Sin show up.
Oh, dude, fuck.
Because
I
that
mean,
guy we did not see the destruction of Jared Sin like the title implies. He just pieced out to another dimension. So
exactly. And
maybe he
all
came
bets
to
are off.
our dimension.
Especially now that they brought Reanimator back into the fold, dude, we could have Herbert West fucking give the Revengers the ability to reanimate the dead as well.
Fuck yes.
Uh, so he not only is he in there, but what's Combs's character's name from Beyond?
From Beyond. Crawford Tillinghast.
Yeah, they're both in there now.
Yeah.
Again,
I would totally
so,
I would totally pay to see some split screen Jeffrey Combs action.
yeah, they would be like our fucking support cast for the Revengers.
They're like Bruce Banner.
Like those scientists. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
maybe then Crawford Tillinghast gets all worked up and his little pineal gland pops out.
Yeah. And at some point, Herbert's like, they've got more bodies over there to work with. So he ends up switching sides, But
yeah.
All
of a sudden, it's like, yeah.
Dude, we got to push for this to at least get made as a comic book because Full Moon's making a bunch of random comics now. And I feel like if they focused it all into an actual event, it would be pretty badass. It would also be a way for us to get the Puppet Master shit they were supposed to do back in the day, the Axis trilogy, like the proper one, where they were going to be going around Europe, like fighting various universal monsters that were resurrected by the Nazis or whatever.
The small people from Creeps.
Hell yeah. You got little Phil Fondacaro playing Dracula
running around like little mini Drac.
Super drooly werewolf.
Yeah,
it looked cool. It was supposed to be a 3D movie, so I guess
it was. I saw it in 3D.
Drooling. Is it good?
Yeah, he did Charles Band did like a traveling show thing.
Yeah, Cody nailed it. I meant to say. I probably meant to say that.
Yeah, that was where Puppet Master 5 was leading into? Was that?
Yep, and then they lost the Paramount money, so they had to basically Puppet Master, Curse of the Puppet Master is just a reworking of the script for the movie.
Yeah,
you guys aware of that one?
Oh God, don't remind me with freaking Dirk Benedict.
Yeah, it's a reworking of that Dirk Benedict script. So it just made into a Puppet Master movie, and but what we were supposed to get was Puppet Wars, which was gonna really escalate the whole thing with the Nazis and bring in the Universal monsters, which I just thought was fucking genius. There's a bunch of concept art for it. We did get a couple of the puppets in later Puppet Master movies. Like, I don't know if you know Bombshell, the puppet with the tits that are like guns. She was supposed to originally be in the Puppet
I have a story about that.
There's concept art of her dating back to 1996. So it is literally a thing that they were working on since then.
Yeah. When I was watching that Puppet Master movie, when they turned Uchi into a puppet, and he was presenting them, and I was like, please have her special power have something to do with her tits. And then 2 seconds later, I was like, this is the best movie I've ever seen.
It's made for us, bro. Yeah. It's made for us. They knew exactly who was watching this. Michael says that Ginger Dead Man would be a good villain in Revengers.
And it has to be Gary Busey.
Exactly. That's the only way I would accept it back, and only if he has an entire rant about hobbits in the film. And also, I feel like Gingy would be one of those dudes that would eventually switch sides. He would come over to the good side at some point.
I'm on the losing side over here, guys. We're kind of getting shit. Whatever.
When you watch the Evil Bong movies, to their credit, they do give him some pretty decent character development, if you want to call it that. And I don't think the Ginger Dead Man is as bad as he's been made out to be. So
at least he's not Jack Frost
on the good side at some point. I don't know, man. I guess another fun one here, since we're talking about hypothetical full moon stuff, and all you guys can weigh in on this in the comments. Which full moon movie do you think would have made the best video game? And I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about at the time. I think Monster in My Pocket was a solid contender for a Puppet Master game, but we didn't get that. So that's what we got that. But you know what I'm getting at.
I would totally do the Dollman versus Demonic Toys thing.
I think that would be the most fun.
Yeah.
A Dollman game would be sick to lead you into it, I suppose.
But to put that in there also and have each one of the toys be like the end level boss kind of situation.
Yes.
That would just work. I think that would work the best.
Oh, dude, that's almost perfect length too, because you got you got the little robot
dude.
You got
the robot,
Jack Attack, you got the teddy bear. I think those are all the toys, but then you've also got the Satan dude and the gas mask minions.
Mm-hmm.
So you could make like a 6-stage. That's about NES game length, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could have a 6-world game or whatever.
Just be Brick Bardo running around shooting people with the Kroger with the unlimited ammo.
Yeah. I think
maybe get a little pistol whip action in there too when he gets close.
True enough.
It would also be kind of a cool mechanic if there's a way that if you get hit, you can lose your gun, and you have to be a certain distance from it in order to call it back to your hand.
And there's other items you can use, like long poles and things like that.
Oh, just smack dudes in the forehead and shit. You can concuss the guy with a pipe cleaner.
What else? I don't know. You can do all types of fun stuff like that. Of course, you're going to have spiders as one of the main enemies, because that part in Demonic Toys versus Demonic Toys.
Rats, spiders, anything that would be
living in a duct.
Yeah. And like anything could be an obstacle too. Like just like a pair of shoes on the ground would be an obstacle he's got to jump over kind of thing, you know?
Well, dude, and I'm a big fan of those introductory episodes that take you from where you are introduced to the character through like an area to the main like first level of the game. The one of the best examples I can think of that does that is Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
I would love to have like the whole house and garden scene from the beginning of Dollman versus Demonic Toys made into like that introductory level. Like that's where you learn Brick's mechanics and
his movesets and all that. Yeah.
And then you eventually go into the whole scene where you meet, Babylon 5's. Why am I having a hard time seeing these? Tracy Scoggins.
Tracy Scoggins.
It took me till right now to realize that I have all the theatrical posters in front of me, so all of their names are literally printed in big text.
She showed up in an episode of Deep Space Nine when I was rewatching the series, and I was just like, "How did I not realize that was Tracy Scoggins?" I was like, "Holy shit!" She's like a Cardassian,
great,
but she's good. She fucking tries to bang O'Brien.
I always feel bad because I was one of those people that kind of hated the last season of Babylon 5, but in reappraising it, it's a fine season of TV sci-fi. It's just it's unfortunate circumstances around it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she could be involved in the game somehow too. She dies.
She could be the person that's in the cutscenes telling you what you have to do for the next stage, kind of thing.
For the next two, at least, because she dies like a third of the way into the movie, but and it's only like an hour long.
Yeah, she's like, guys, Charlie, I don't want this to be my career from now on. I want out.
I'm gonna go shoot a really mediocre Babylon 5 movie.
Yeah, I got a new job. I'm gonna be on Not Dallas.
No, you guys don't have any candidates in there for Full Moon video games outside of Puppet Master? I think mine. Man, it's really tempting to just go with like standalone games for either Dollman or Demonic Toys, but those are a bit easy, I think.
I was just thinking like which one would be the most like fun concept would be like Dollman versus Demonic Toys.
Yeah, that is the most fun for sure. That'd be like the Alien versus Predator if it was actually good on Super Nintendo.
If you really want to get crazy with it, a survival horror subspecies game.
See, I was thinking more of like a sort of in the vein of the first Legacy of Kain, where it's kind of RPG-ish at the same time.
Like Legend of Zelda-y RPG, yeah.
That would be a fun thing to do and see it go through like all 4 or 5 subspecies chapters, depending on how you want to look at it.
And you can unlock the secret Vampire Journals side missions.
Exactly. I feel like that would have been one of those.
That'd be the DLC.
It was like a PC game or something. But honestly, I mean, there's a couple other obvious choices. Let's be real. Like Creepazoids really could have been like a solid Alien ripoff. It might have even been better.
Too? Which one was the one with the dream? The one with the Louise Fletcher.
Shadow Zone. Yeah, that could also be another really rad, like vaguely horror platformer puzzle type game for the older systems.
Even like Crash and Burn.
Crash and Burn, I think, could work better as a survival horror game, like you were saying.
Yeah, like you're
in that Crash and Burn, and it would be rad to switch it up to where, because it'd be super easy to implement some type of a cycling. I'm not sure how video game programming works, but to make it to where like each character could be the android every different time that you play.
Oh, where it's like procedurally generated, kind of different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you don't know who's going to be, until you've played it so many times, you don't know who's going to be the killer android, So it wouldn't just always be Bill Moseley. It could sometimes be other people or even you. That would be a cool thing.
You don't even know it. Yeah.
Or then your goal is to kill everybody. Get stepped
on by a giant robot.
And see, maybe if you randomly get it to where it's you've got to kill everybody successfully without the other people finding out, and then fucking destroy the giant robot.
That'd be awesome. Well, make it like that Friday the 13th game that came out a couple of years ago, where one person randomly becomes the android and everyone else is trying to survive. And it's your job as the android to kill everybody.
True. That would be fun. And you know, in a sense, that's kind of what they're trying to do with the Puppet Master game. It's just the hard reality of it is only dorks like us like this stuff. So
Yeah.
getting that many
It's a very niche
to
audience.
actually do it, yeah, is something that's probably not going to happen. So
like in Nintendo terms, these games that we're talking about, if they ever did exist, would have been made by Color Dreams.
Yeah, 4 players was probably too many.
Yeah. You know? Ain't no 4 score shit going on here, bro.
There's
there's
already 2 of us here, and Gory's in the chat there. Or with Cody, though, that makes 4 of us that would actually play a Full Moon game. So
yeah,
there we go. But I mean, you know, in a perfect world, yes, that would be rad, dude. And the Puppet Master game, I don't know if you've looked into that too much, but it is still being developed. It's never going to be anything huge. It's going to be a thing you donate $5 to play or is just free. But it looks like it could be a lot of fun with a group like us, you know, where it's like a certain amount of people get to be the puppets, certain amount of people get to be the survivors, and you're just put in one of the stages from the game, from the movies, and left to slaughter each other. You know?
Oh, something funny I just noticed. We've been recording longer than Dollman is long.
We have. And I feel like we've covered just about everything in the movie, right? Like, are we missing anything?
Not that I can really think of, no.
Favorite scenes, so...
Yeah.
We talked about the music, production, special effects.
Yeah, the music. I will say something about the music. Like Tony Ripperetti works with Albert Pune a lot. He did all the Nemesis movies. I really love the soundtrack to Nemesis 2. But yeah, he made a pretty awesome score. Like I remember even back in the day, I remember hearing that in like a Video Zone or something that they were going to be releasing some of the soundtracks to the Full Moon movies on CD. Yep. And I actually went out like looking for like the Dollman one and stuff like that. And only one I ever found was the Puppet Master 1 and 2.
Some of them are under weird titles, dude. Like there is a one for Meridian that is like such and such whatever fucking weird mulleted asshole did the music for Meridian. It's like him on the entire cover, and then on the bottom it just says music from the motion picture Meridian, and then you flip it over and it's like Meridian Pictures and fully a Full Moon release, but the front of it looks like a fucking Yanni album or some shit. Like you would never think that it was. You would never fucking think that it was a Full Moon soundtrack just looking at it. You know? I
was always looking for the Dollman and the Subspecies soundtracks. I never found them.
What's up with you guys in the comments, man? I know you're still there. Cody, Michael, Gory.
Tell me something.
What's your votes for a Full Moon video game? I'm going to let Chris throw out a couple of more trivia things at you, or just random musings while I take a pee real quick. And then we are going to talk about the Full Moon soundtracks.
Cool. Yeah, another continuity error that I noticed is toward the end when Debbie she's already been kidnapped. She is escaping from, I want to call him Haley Joel Osment, but it's not him. When she's running away from Braxton or whatever his name is, she's running toward camera. Her character is running toward the camera to get away from him. And the camera is pretty close into her character. Like she's basically filling the shot. It is not Kamala playing her at all. It is a stunt woman with a horrifically bad wig. And I was like, how did you not think we would notice this? I can understand maybe if I was watching it on VHS on a CRT, it might look a little bit different. Haley Jackie something. Yeah, Jackie Earl Haley. That's it. I'm calling Haley Joel Osment. But yeah, it's one of those things where like in HD, you totally can tell because her face is in full frame. You could totally. Why did you think that was a good idea to keep that shot in there for that long? Because they keep the camera on her, and the editor kept that entire shot of her running. It's like a good 10 seconds of it, and it's clearly not her, and the hair is completely wrong. And then they cut away to Jackie Earl Haley like rounding a corner to chase after her. And then all of a sudden, because she's stopping to run to look back and see him, that it is actually the actress again. It's stuff like that just bugs me, because if I were the one that made the movie and I saw that, I would not put that shot in the movie at all.
See, I might, but that's where you would come in handy where I'm making a movie, Chris. I would have a hardcore tendency to be like, all right, it's the end of the day. Let's go. That'll work. But sometimes you need a good bro in arms to be like, dude, you really want that to be the thing? Make you think about it a second, and you're like, probably not. All right, just give me a minute. Let's get some Dutch Bros. We'll come back at her.
I did get a good giggle out of the one henchman that I think he's the one that's like threatening Kamala or Debbie in the van. He's like, "You need to stay out of our business." He was from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes,
He was the guy in the biker bar that's like, first we tattoo him, and then we hang him, and then we kill him. And because I didn't recognize him back in the day, but when I was watching it today, I just started laughing uncontrollably when I saw that guy, because that's the first thing that comes into mind is first we tattoo him. Oh man, I was laughing so hard.
Cody says, how about Trancers as a first-person shooter game? And that's a solid option.
Yeah.
I think and Tylord brings up Trancers as a point-and-click adventure, and I think that what the real happy medium of those would be like a hybrid between a first-person shooter game and something like Detroit Become Human or whatever the hell it was called. That would be the best option for a Trancers or a Blade Runner game, depending on how you wanted to do it.
I would
let's be honest.
I would have totally dug a Trancers game back in the day.
That'd have been sick. If we're talking retro, Trancers would have for sure been.
Even Metal Storm.
Metal Storm's not one I've seen enough times to be able to weigh in on. Sadly.
It's just like picture like Mad Max with some fantasy elements.
Yeah, I know. It hurts my heart that there's not a more readily available.
Oh, the Blu-ray's not available anymore?
Nah, man. And I just recently got like ripped off for $200 by this guy that was supposed to be selling me the Empire box set. I believe that had it in it, but I got bummed, man. I made some bad decisions there. I shouldn't have sent him the money with Cash App, but he played me. Like,
I'm sorry to hear that, because I know how much you wanted that.
Yeah, it's almost choking me up talking about it, dude. It was like I was so fucking hyped on it, and that dude, he was like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of Rebel Gaming Club," and he had been. I've been friends with the dude for like 3 years on Facebook, and he fucking absolutely ripped me off for $145, and then I eventually sent him like another $30 for shipping, and it was just all a lie.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
He took my money and never even fucking had the box set. He took pictures of it at a thrift shop, which pisses me off even more because I know it was actually in the place for 140. Might even still be sitting there, but that fucking tweaker like screwed us all out of being able to get that set.
Yeah, I was lucky. I bought Metal Storm like the day it came out, because I definitely wanted to have a 3D copy of it. And it looks awesome in 3D.
Did they have like a Shout Factory of that? Or
yeah, anything? that was. I ordered it through them.
Yeah. So there's some of them that are probably available. I feel like I've seen people buy like Ghost Town and stuff separately.
Yeah, the one that's really hard to find now is what's it called? Robot Jocks is the one that's going for like $100.
Yeah, Dolls is another expensive one. That one's like $172 or something stupid. I mean, that's the thing. Like, even with those Empire sets, they're rare because there was only like 600 of them. So when someone puts them up, of course they sell them for like $400 or $500. But when you really do the math and you look at those Shout Factory releases, you're getting them way cheaper spending $400 on the Empire set than you would be, buying them individually. Fucking Dolls on its own is half of that price. So the dude fucked me, and honestly, I'd have paid the dude at the thrift shop like $350 for it. And I had a dude lined up that also had one in the Shout Factory group that was going to sell it to me for $350, but I already gave that $200 that I had at the time to that fucking crackhead that ended up ripping me off.
Yeah, nah. I know. That thing that's pissing me off the most is I know how much you wanted that shit.
I trusted him. Sure, was he covered in face tattoos and usually pretty fucked up online? True. But the only thing really separates me from him is the face tattoos. So I wasn't trying to be judgmental. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'd known him for 3 years. He'd never ever hit me up for money before. I never even ever attempted to sell me anything before, but I was like, okay, well, this seems like it's probably legit. All of our mutual friends are those guys from Rebel Gaming Club, so why would he screw me over like in broad daylight in front of all those dudes? And then he just proceeded to do exactly that.
Dick.
So fuck it, man. I mean, the Empire said it wasn't meant to be. It'll be mine when the time comes that I've earned it or something, and it's mine for real. I mean, or
let's
ideally,
talk about something happier.
They would just do another run of it.
Action beat 'em up nemesis with rendered Olivier.
I'm sorry, we did bring down the vibe with that. I apologize. I shouldn't have explained so much. It's a sore subject, though.
I totally get it.
But we do have these soundtracks, which are also kind of a sore subject because most of them come broken in some way when you buy them from Full Moon. But I do have a bunch of these that we'll look at right now. So I have Shrunken Heads. Obviously,
yeah, do it because of the Danny Elfman theme.
Yeah, man. We got Tourist Trap. Maybe not as highly rated as some of the more modern Full Moon soundtracks. God, you haven't seen Tourist Trap yet?
I own it. I bought it, but I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. I keep forgetting I have it.
I feel like I've been recommending that to you for like 2 years because I have Subspecies.
Yeah, I wanted that so bad back in the day. I loved the theme to that movie.
We got the Puppet Master 1 and 2 disc.
That's the only one I found.
It's really all you need. I mean, the more I've really looked into it, I feel like we're lucky to get an original piece of music in those Puppet Master movies.
Yeah, I think at least the first 5, it's all just recycled.
Yeah, so I feel like that big double LP they did is the only way to get like all this shit plus the only other stuff that was worth adding to it. Which I will do. It's only like $35 when Full Moon has it in stock, so I'll be grabbing that. Of course, you have to have this motherfucker right here.
I want that on Blu-ray so bad.
It is. I don't think we're getting it because it might be one of those only times where Charlie's legitimately not lying. I think it's lost. Damn it. He didn't treat some of these ones that he wasn't doing the best back in the day. That's another criticism I would have against Charles Band. I feel like the ones that he was involved in, of course, the negatives are still around. But some of these fan favorites, like fucking Netherworld, don't have the shit. And it's because they didn't care. It was like something they did. So
doesn't have small things in it. So
I hope that, Charles's overall movie hoarding tendencies, which according to Dave Dakota himself is a very real thing. He still has a lot of the original paintings for all this shit, like in a warehouse somewhere, so it's possible that Netherworld negative is chilling somewhere, and we'll get that widescreen Blu-ray release. Because
do it,
like we said with Dollman being the movie of Full Moon's catalog that's probably most worthy of a fucking sequel that didn't get one. Netherworld is probably the most worthy movie in their entire catalog of a Blu-ray release because it would look better than almost any other fucking Full Moon movie ever created.
I was happy we got Dark Angel. Because like that movie has like the stuff in hell is like ambitious for Full Moon.
Absolutely insane. Yeah, it's right there with Netherworld of being top tier like chef's kiss shit. So if they can get that out on Blu-ray, that's day one purchase for me.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Day one purchase of like 3 or 4 copies probably. So
just in case your war run out,
or just in case you don't get one, I can give it to you before. I don't know. I feel like that's one that would go pretty cool.
You make me go check the website.
Of course, you got to have that Bad Channels soundtrack. Okay, it's a Blue Oyster Cult. Okay. Probably until I recently got into ska punk in the last year. Blue Oyster Cult was right there with Guar, and probably Megadeth as my top 3 favorite bands of all time. Yeah, they're still up there. They're in the top 5, but there's a couple other bands that have, scooched themselves above Blue Oyster.
I love the track that Blue Oyster Cult did for the heavy metal soundtrack.
Oh man, yeah. What is it? I think they
veteran of the Psychic Wars.
Veterans of the Psychic Wars, and then they had that other one that kind of went hand in hand with it, which was Heavy Metal of the Black and Silver. So Heavy Metal of the Black and Silver. Meridian. That's a soundtrack you got to have as well. I managed to get the one that isn't the Yanni guy squeezing up the entire fucking cover.
Instead, you get the implied sexual assault cover,
which is the better one for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like half of it was semi-consensual. I'm not trying to defend the nocturnal antics of any werewolves or anything like that. Okay,
there's some cringy stuff in that one.
There is for sure, but it's also kind of masterfully cringy when you think about it.
I need to watch it again. That's another one I bought, but I haven't watched it.
I feel like it's intentionally taboo, you know. Like it's one of the only times
like dating a furry.
Kind of. I feel like it's one of the only times that Charles set out to sort of not necessarily offend people, but to shock them and like make them think for a minute, you know. Because the whole thing with Meridian is like one of the dudes doing the beast rape isn't complicit in it. He's being forced into it by his abusive brother, you know?
Yeah.
And that's sort of the side of what she assumes to be one person that she ends up falling in love with. And there's the weird Stockholm syndrome thing that happens.
The Beauty and the Beast
Meridian's
situation.
a fucked up movie.
Yeah. It's like a fucked up Beauty and the Beast.
Exactly. 100%, dude. Yeah. This pairs nicely with something like Dark Angel because they do both have those parallels to Disney movies, but they're not Disney movies at all.
No, not at all.
This one though, it's a thinker. Meridian is one of the ones that I think it's the only Full Moon Madness episode that ever got taken down for sexual reasons. That's why if you look at my timeline actually on the YouTube channel, it's missing. Like there's only 23 episodes that were available for this discussion wave, but there's actually was 24 episodes. I did a Meridian episode at one point and they took down because I put too much beast sex in it. And I kept trying to edit it down and they kept saying that it was like, you know, not appropriate for the guidelines or whatever. What I really should have done was just blurred all of it. And I learned that later, you know, but, I was stubborn and mad, and so I've never done the Meridian episode again. It's actually planned. We're going to be doing it this month, and then it will be added into the discussion wheel, if you will. But
do it.
Yeah, you should watch it again, man. It's a fucked up.
I bought it, and I haven't had a chance to watch it. Like I bought a bunch of them at once, and I haven't had a chance.
Full Moon
like for a while, I was watching every movie I bought and ignoring my video games, and now I'm ignoring my movies and playing nothing but video games.
Oh, shit. I'm sorry, Tyler. I didn't mean to miss your comments. He needs that Bad Channel soundtrack. Only $10 on Full Moon Direct, bro. So have a good night. We're going to be getting out of here in like 15 minutes anyways. But yeah, man, I mean, I have that problem too. I buy way more movies than I can possibly ever watch in a sitting, you know?
Yeah.
Full Moon, even I fell behind on it, but I usually keep a pretty good rate of watching those simply because of the runtime of them. It's Meridian's one you should push up to the top of your list, though.
Yeah.
It's
I'm just now that I'm like it's working, I'm thinking probably I'll watch that in Tourist Trap this weekend.
You definitely should, dude, because Tourist Trap, that can't speak for the dude that arranged the discussion. Sometimes he's not in the best of moods to do discussions, so he can be one of those guests that could go either way, but I feel like it's going to be good just in spite of him or anything like that because of the movie. Tourist Trap is amazing, you know. It's one of the only PG horror films that I can think of that successfully, like, it would still be R-rated today. But Tourist Trap skirts that shit so expertly, which I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's...
Yeah. Well, even Jeremiah that I do my podcast with is like, how have you not seen that yet? Like, when I brought it up, he was just like, why have you not watched that?
I mean, let's put it this way. Even the dude who did the sets for it is the guy who did original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So that in itself should make you want to watch it just to see the insane fucking this. It's like okay. Chainsaw was one thing because it was just him doing a student film. Tourist Trap is people specifically getting him because he did that and being like, here's a bunch of money, go nuts, you know?
Yep.
And he does, dude. The sets and everything make the movie. And the kills are very violent, while at the same time, I don't want to spoil it for you.
That sounds like you're telling me all about Doctor Strange too right now. Like I said, an Evil Dead movie made with Disney money.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but it is what it is. You know. I don't know who's still with us in the chat there. We got 15 minutes left on this before I gotta pull the plug for legal obligations to my, regiment of eating pretzel dogs. So, I got some of those Nathan's motherfucking pretzel dogs up.
Oh God, Nathan!
I'm gonna be tearing into, dude.
God damn. God damn.
Of the soundtracks that I showed, did any of you guys have a favorite?
I'd probably say Subspecies is probably the one I would flip for the most.
It's hard to deny that. Meridian, in terms of sheer pound for pound, would be a close second, I think, or a close third. I'd put Subspecies in second. I think Netherworld in the top slot, just personally. Cody says, great movie. Finally watched it a couple of months ago. I can't believe I waited that long. I assume
you guys are guilting me into watching this movie, man.
Tourist Trap. Oh, no guilt involved.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
You just got to get on that, man. Tourist Trap is one that I'm still astounded by. Tourist Trap, and I've seen it a bunch of times. It's a vicious fucking movie, dude. The fact that they got that to be PG even in the 70s is nuts. But then when you really start thinking about it, it's like the type of movie that could probably still pass for a PG-13 now. And it's just vicious as fuck in a very calculated way.
Yeah, PG back in like the 70s and 80s meant something different until PG.
They could show titties in those, and
look at Sheena. I watched Sheena on Amazon Prime a few months ago, and there was titties all over the place in that movie.
Dude, I watched a Chuck Norris movie where there was like titties, cocaine, and he broke a guy's fucking back over his knee, and it was rated PG-13. Or not PG-13. It was before that even existed. It was rated PG.
Even Beastmaster.
Yeah.
That movie's nasty as hell. That's a fucking Don Coscarelli like getting some money and still trying to make a Phantasm movie. There's blood, gore, tits, everything.
Well, dude, those fucking bat people dissolving them to their bones.
That's one of those movies that like my parents were like, why are we letting our kid watch this? I'm like, because it's PG. Awesome. That's why. No, my whole thing was like, because it's PG, that why you can't say no.
Yeah. Quiet woman, it's the 80s.
So I couldn't watch any R-rated horror movie, but watching Commando was cool. Watching any Arnold movie, watching any Stallone movie, those were fine. Like I said, they took me to see Heavy Metal at the drive-in in 1980 because it was an animated movie and they didn't know what the fuck it was.
See, I wish my parents had that logic, but because
well, they realized real quickly they made a mistake.
I was allowed to watch whatever the fuck I wanted, dude. In terms of like real movies, they never gave a shit for some reason. But animated stuff, it was rough times. We touched on this in the last episode too. It took me like 3 goes to finally be able to see Heavy Metal. The first 2 times, both my parents like turned it down because the idea of an R-rated horror movie, and to their credit, they were right. There's got to be some filthy shit in it for it to be an R-rated like cartoon. A horror movie makes sense. There's people getting killed or whatever, and being a little weirdo Halloween kid like I was, it was like, oh, he's into like blood and guts, and so are we, kind of. So we don't mind that, but like R-rated cartoons they thought was blasphemy for some reason. So
well, I was surprised they didn't like leave the drive-in when we were watching it, because once the fucking titties started showing up, my mom was just kind of like, oh no.
Eventually they caved. Okay. And I'm talking like eventually, like within a summer they caved, and I was able to see that, and then it opened the floodgates of Bakshi movies.
Yeah, there you go. You're watching Fritz
irreparably lost. There was no hope for me anymore. But But yeah, it's weird how that works, man. Your parents' different sensibilities, right? Like my parents always figured, all right, well, we watch R-rated movies with him. He's watching action movies and different shit. He sees boobs, who cares? But like for some reason, boobs in cartoon form were gonna affect me adversely. That's weird.
Yeah, a friend of mine I've known since junior high, his dad, same thing, would let him watch anything that he ever wanted, but Roadhouse was off limits because a guy gets his throat ripped out with someone's bare hands. He's like, Total Recall has people's eyeballs popping out of their heads, but this is not okay.
And a lady with 3 boobs. I mean, Scanners, a guy blows up a dude's brain with his mind.
Yeah. Like I said, all that stuff's okay. But I remember, when he told me that, I was just kind of like, has your dad ever actually watched the other movies that he's saying are okay?
Exactly. Another thing that was bizarre for me as a kid growing up in terms of like parental censorship, because I only ever had to deal with like really the cartoon thing. I'm not even exaggerating, and my mom could corroborate it. They didn't give a shit. Like once I started watching horror, one of the first fucking movies that my mom showed me after I snuck and watched Alien, and they finally caved and started letting me see the shit, was The Hills Have Eyes, bro.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
There's one to jump to. What the fuck?
Yeah. I think I saw that before I saw Jaws. Yeah.
Wow.
Like, it's holy shit. But bizarrely, one time we had some friends over, like in middle school, and we were watching Dazed and Confused. It might have actually been like 5th grade. I think that's when Dazed and Confused came out for me. But anyways, we were watching it, and there was a part where like the 2 kids are fighting at the kegger, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my stepdad came in and got all enraged because he thought we were watching a movie where like someone was beating up a girl because they both had long hair. And my mom like came in and saw it, and it's a pretty like he's beating him up on the ground for a minute right there in that scene. So there, and he does kind of look like a girl. So my mom was like, "Yeah, this isn't cool, guys." And so we had to take out Dazed and Confused because they thought we were watching a movie where a girl was getting beat up, and immediately put in Blade, and they were fine with that.
Okay. Sure. Yeah, it's like your parents went straight to Hills Have Eyes. My thing was when I finally said like fuck that to all this not like being able to watch horror movies. The movie I chose to watch as like the horror movie to break my cherry was Hellraiser 2, the uncut version.
There you go.
My parents made the mistake of renting it and making a copy, and they were not home. I got them from school. They were both still at work, and I was like, "This is your fault. You copied it. It's still in the house. I'm watching it." And they came home and they're like, "Why are you watching this?" I was like, "Why did you copy it?"
Dude, it was a rough day. And let's put it this way. Our parents lost the battle of censoring us, or like really determining how often we watch crap the moment that any of us figured out that you could record with a VCR. We would get up to some dastardly shit as kids with that. Like we would raid familial VHS collections. I can't even count the amount of times I was chewed out because Street Trash was recorded over my mom's copy of Working Girl or something like that with like a piece of masking tape over it with a crappily written fucking that's just how you did it as a kid. Once you realized you could hook up 2 tape decks and just infinitely dupe tapes, yep. I was in fucking hog heaven, dude.
Yeah, my dad was,
and I still have a lot of those. I can't bring myself to throw them away. So this closet over here has a lot of my splatter movies and anime and different things like that.
Yeah, my dad figured out pretty early on. Like we got our first VCR in like 1981, maybe 1981. And our next door neighbor got one at the same time. And my dad, like literally the day that he bought it, he goes, "Can I borrow yours for a day? I want to try some shit."
Fuck yeah!
And next thing you know, because there's a store down the street that was like renting VHS tapes. Next thing you know, we have Star Trek: The Motion Picture and Logan's Run and all these other movies on the wall. I'm like, "Where did these come from?" He's like, "I'll never tell."
Well, dude, I mean, once you had it down, I'm sure your dad was in the same boat. You just had the dual decks, you know, where it was like you rented something, you put it in, you watched it, you're like, "That was fucking awesome," and now I own it. you know, and that was the end of it. You
My
returned
dad's
it
way
to
of
the video
repaying the
store.
neighbor for letting us borrow his VCR was to make a copy of the movie for him too.
We're part of a generation that is uniquely responsible for boosting and reducing home video sales. We were the first pirates, bro.
Yeah.
When you think about it, we were the
Like-
first people pirating.
Like my dad was a hacker back in the day. My dad figured this shit out like basically when the technology was still new.
And it wasn't, you didn't even feel like you were doing something illegal.
Yeah.
You
I don't
know?
even think back in the early days there was that warning under that says copying this is illegal.
There was later. There was a
Yeah.
late 90s period where I was like, okay, now they're starting to put in weird protection where, like, if you, you know, put it in there and you're running it to a second VCR, it will just blue out the entire tape.
Mhm.
But then I figured out that you just run it through a splitter. You know?
Yeah.
So the moment that a splitter became involved is the moment that I knew I was stealing.
Yeah, I had
didn't
bought this
fucking care.
I bought this like this image enhancer box that would actually like make a duplicate of a legit VHS tape look just like the VHS tape, and for some reason it completely took out copy protection.
Yeah, well, that was the whole point of it, bro.
Yeah.
I bought the same thing, actually. I'm fairly certain exactly the same thing. And it was kind of one of the, it really didn't work as advertised in the same
It never
way.
looked just
There was
like
still
it.
some degradation, but it definitely split the signal so you could dupe whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the gimmick, you know, was like, oh, yeah, it's an enhancer. Okay.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
It's just like how they used to sell you Game Sharks and shit as a video game enhancer. It wasn't a cheat device. Yeah. You're not cheating. You're enhancing your video
you're enhancing the experience.
Yeah. But I mean, even then, I didn't really, you know, I was like a fucking 14-year-old kid, you know, I didn't have money to buy all these movies. And I feel like in the years since, I've definitely sunk enough money into especially the independent horror end of things that I don't feel bad for anything that I ever.
Yeah. Basically, all the movies that I was copying for myself back in the day, I own now, like a legit copy. So
yeah.
I don't
We're
feel
just those
so bad.
types of nerds, you know. We want the cover art and the official presentation and the special features and all the junk that goes along with it, or just a bunch of you know, full moon soundtracks that you're never really going to listen to, but you're going to source a bunch of music for reviews from.
Damn right.
Because it's just easier than trying to do it around, you know, the movie. That's usually how I take them for the reviews, or took them for the reviews last year, was I would just get them from like the closing or opening credits of the movie and then sit there and manually loop the shit and clean up.
Do they ever tag your videos when you use the full moon soundtracks? Yeah, it's weird because when I was doing
has ever given me grief, bro, was Elvira. And it hurts my heart to say this, but Elvira is the only time I've ever had to battle for a full moon video, was because 13 Nights of Elvira kept claiming my Oblivion review, which fucking sucks because it's episode 1 of the entire series. Yeah. I fought them for that for like 2 months, man. And through multiple emails, probably like 8 emails in total, that it took me to convince them that, like, well, maybe like 6. That it took me to convince them that, like, look, I'm just a dude that reviews these. Like, you're easily getting people that are buying Oblivion because of my reviews. More people that have been buying Oblivion for ages, you know. I personally know like 3 people that
free
bought
advertising.
That movie. Yeah. I'm not making anything doing it. I put probably 3 hours of fucking time into every single full moon review that I've done. So it's, it's all benefit. And finally they were like, all right. And they released it and they haven't fucked with me since. But that was the only time that I've ever gotten a problem with it. Yeah, every now and again, go ahead. Sorry.
No, what were you saying?
Well, I was going to say, every now and again, even with my non-full moon reviews, you'll get like a music notice. Most of the time, they're cool enough to let you keep it up. At least with like lower budget movies and stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
When I was doing the 31-day license challenge on my channel, if I would put the movie's score over the video.
Well, you're asking for fucking...
Well, that was the thing. Was like some of them, sometimes I would get tagged, and sometimes, like, I did the Warriors one, and they tagged me for using the theme song from the Warriors.
But did
the theme music, the score?
Did they remove it is the question.
Well, the thing was I had uploaded it, but I had it still as a private video. Like I hadn't released it. And they did the whole scanning of the video thing. And it says, yes, there's a conflict here.
But did they?
So I ended up just taking, but the thing was I was using my version of the opening credits theme music from the soundtrack from the movie. And then I took the soundtrack, which is almost the exact same track from the video game, and put that on top of it instead, and then re-uploaded it, and it was fine.
Oh yeah, and even the other one might have been fine. See, that's where I don't ask like further questions on these points to try to dissuade from the fact that YouTube is ridiculous about some of their copyright stuff. A lot of it actually, but a lot of those copyright strikes that people talk about are really just copyright notices where they're like, this is copyrighted material. You can still use it. You just can't monetize that particular video. And where I've been doing YouTube for like 7 years and never made a dime off of it, I don't give a fuck about any of that. So as long as I can use it, I'm cool with it. It's when they take it down that pisses me off, because that counts towards your channel, or can count towards your channel. And I dispute that shit like every time when they take it down. And almost every time I've won in some capacity. Like I used to do, I'm sure you remember for a little bit, those kaiju quarantine videos. And Toho constantly was up my fucking ass, even in videos where all I used was trailer footage that was already on YouTube, and they still would take the videos down. And that's why I killed the whole kaiju series, because it's like, well, if I can't do Toho movies, then
what's the point?
Now I know I can just do them as podcasts and it's whatever, but
there you go.
Man, it was so fucking aggravating. But with Full Moon, they seem mostly happy about it,
Well, like I said, like the way Nintendo used to, I don't know if they still do it or not. Like Nintendo used to like beat you down the moment you would put anything Nintendo related in one of your videos. And it's like, you do realize that we're fans of your product and we're advertising that we are fans and we're giving you free advertising, and you're still biting us in the ass. It's like, I don't get it.
Thankfully, old Chucky has many fucking problems as he has. Greed isn't necessarily one of them.
Yeah, he's like he'll take the free advertising wherever he can get it.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Because he is the only contact I've ever had with people from Full Moon, they seem to think it's pretty cool. And when you look at Charles's track record of doing shows with people that are very small in sub count, we're gonna have Charles Band on here one of these days. It's just I
want to be there.
We will make sure that you are, bro.
Yeah, I met him in person though when that Creeps thing happened. He was pretty cool. I met him and Phil Fondacaro.
Dude, Phil Fondacaro.
Still got to send you that poster though. I keep on forgetting to send you that damn poster.
I'm going to be seeing Phil at the HorrorCon, not this weekend, but next weekend. So
luckily, he already signed the poster, so you don't have to worry about that.
I'm going to try to get him to sign my copy of the Creeps for sure, and maybe a couple other ones. I really want to hit up the kid, dude. That Trevor Noah kid, not the fucking dude online. Maybe that's not even his full name. The kid that played Atreyu in Neverending Stories.
Oh, Noah Hathaway.
Yeah, Noah Hathaway. But I want to go fucking have that kid sign my copy at Troll.
Yeah,
I don't give a shit about Neverending.
Get him and Phil. Yeah,
exactly. There's a couple other Full Moon people there as well. I was a little disappointed to see that Full Moon doesn't have an actual booth at the con, but
what you think that'd be the way to go? Yeah, my brother is a filmmaker. He used to live in LA. He was trying to get movies done. He was working on a low budget monster movie for Sci-Fi Channel, and he was actually trying to get Jeffrey Combs to be the lead in it. And I was like, I told him to his face, I was like, dude, if that happens, I will quit my job and I'll come down there to work on that movie for fucking free just to hang out with Jeffrey Combs.
Fuck yeah. It's not that inconceivable, dude. Again, like I was saying earlier, these people are just people. You just hit them up,
Yeah.
They're going to say no or they're going to be hyped. That's pretty much it. I think that might have been our last discussion, actually. But we were talking about it a minute. Like, dude, I interviewed Catherine Mary Stewart a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I know. Lucky.
Had an amazing fucking time doing it. I think me and that lady actually bonded pretty fucking well. It was
She
just
seems
because
super cool. She seems super cool.
So cool, dude. Within 5 minutes of us getting in the call together, we were already joking about like how I would get variously killed and disemboweled if I visited the Australian outback. And then she tasked me with writing a musical version, a la, Little Shop of Horrors of Night of the Comet, and gave me 2 book recommendations. So,
I would have totally told her about my Night of the Comet experience in the theater. How I almost shit my pants and made my dad take me out of the theater.
She's down to come, and at least one of the 2 of the dudes that I was doing that fucking podcast with are kind of douchebags. So, I'm pretty sure we can get Catherine back on like a follow-up episode.
Oh God, I'd totally love that. Yeah. Like my dad was like, maybe Chris is ready for horror movies. I'll take him to see this PG-13 horror movie. See how he can handle it. And then when that little kid shows up at the door of Robert Beltran's house, growling at him, I look at my dad. I'm like, I can't watch this anymore. I can't do this. And my dad's laughing his ass off. He's just like, I guess we're going then.
That's great, dude.
Remember my dad taking me out of the theater where he's laughing on the way to the car. He's just like, I knew this was gonna fucking happen. He's like, I knew it.
Well, I think we about covered this, bro.
Nice.
And I think we're about to that stage where we should just, say our goodbyes and move into a private call where we can talk about stuff until we eventually have to call it a night. But I'm super glad that you came in for this.
Yeah, I
think that we did Dollman some justice. I think we gave a lot of people some stuff to think about with the Full Moon Revengers stuff. It's an idea that I've been really unsuccessfully pushing for a while, but successfully pushing for like the last 3 days. And I think that is something we should continue to do and formalize a little bit more. I know some artists.
At least make a comic book, Charlie.
Yes, or we will, I know, like I was just getting at, I know at least some artists that can help us with some concept art. And
Jeremiah is a comic book writer, and he has a comic book that's out right now.
And doesn't he also like full moon movies?
He does.
Yeah. So I feel like we've got
Archangelo. It might have some work for you, buddy.
Hey, we've got a well-rounded group of people here that could produce a pretty rad Full Moon Revengers, show Bible, if you will. It's something that they could at least produce as a comic. I think these days I'd rather him do it as a comic.
You got the wheels turning in my head, because now I'm sitting there going like, maybe I should just start writing a screenplay.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was thinking that when I was watching Dollman and thinking about the whole idea. I was like, we should probably like start writing some stuff for this, because it's just too good not to do.
If I can actually write a Star Trek film and I'm not embarrassed to let other people read it, I think I can write a full movie.
Yeah, because who cares, right?
Yeah.
They can read it. If they don't like it, fuck off. I think we could do pretty good with it.
Hell yeah.
Just something to think about. We're going to be seeing Chris back here real soon with Demonic Toys. So whenever you have the day ready to do that, just hit me up, bud.
Yeah, get her done. A call. I'll be there.
I think our next one that we have coming up is our buddy Jason Gervais. We're going to be doing Seed People. And
that's
then
my bro. That's my super enabler bro.
I forget what his second choice was. I'm trying to leave people's second choices open so that if there's like, multiple people that choose one, we can try to coordinate a date where we can get on with like multiple guests, But by and large, they're pretty much going to be these one-on-one episodes where you guys each choose a movie and get involved with discussing them. So check out our, Facebook page, Full Moon Madness on Facebook. I'm going to keep updating that list so that you guys know what's available to discuss. I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on here. This means the world to me. I think that this went really well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I feel like we had a really good time.
Anytime I can just talk movies with somebody who understands my language is great.
Yeah, and you are truly one of my favorite people to talk about this kind of stuff with, whether it's Full Moon or otherwise. I mean, I feel like that Jaws 2 thing that I did with you guys was one of the funnest times I've ever had with anybody.
That is still one of our favorite episodes.
I still laugh about stuff from that. Yeah. So check it out. Shh, the movie's starting. Jaws 2.
Yes.
But many more of these to come. I think we have banged out 3 of these this week, and that is out of a total of 23 episodes that we have to do to cover all of my standalone short form reviews from last year. In addition to that, we are going to be adding to those. I've got a review for the 2001, I think it is, movie Crips. That's going to be coming out here real soon. It's about the vampires under the hood. It's something. And then, I've also got some other stuff that I'm going to be doing, like the Lost Meridian episode that we alluded to and all that stuff.
Nice.
So, some cool stuff to look forward to here in the near future. And these, discussions are just going to keep rolling out. So anything you want to say to the people before you go about stuff you have coming up? And lastly, I would say if you had to sell Dollman to people in a sentence or two, how would you recommend it? So,
little man blows big holes in people.
Debbie Alejandro.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah. If you want to check out my movie podcast where we record a commentary track, it's the movie's starting. It's available on any podcast download site. Also with Jason Gervais that you're doing your next episode with. I do the Super Enabler Brothers podcast with him over on his channel, Corpse Flood Gaming. And I'm Old Ass Retro Gamer on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I think you turned your microphone off.
I accidentally clicked on the wrong screen. I was trying to not have you hear me like preparing this rum and coke, but I guess we'll yeah, man, definitely check these guys out. Chris has some of the best pickup streams that have ever gone down in the history of the YouTubes, and that Super Enabler Bros podcast is pretty great. I came on there one time. Not sure why I haven't been invited on since.
Well, we try not to repeat guests very often. We want to give everybody a chance to be on the show.
That's cool.
But you'll be back.
I respect that.
We'll have you come
it's
back.
Your guys' shit. You're doing your thing. You get people on there. You have a moment with them, and then you keep doing your thing. I like that. One day, I'll have a friend where I'm like, this podcast is just us. I've been listening to a lot of Bad Friend podcast. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of that.
It's Bobby Lee from Tiger Belly.
Oh, yeah, I know
Lee,
him.
the
He
comedian.
shit himself on Hot Ones.
Yeah, Bad Friend is like one of my favorite things in the world because it's just him and his friend being shitty to each other but awesome to each other at the same time, and it just reminds you of those best friend relationships you have where you're constantly sort of talking shit sometimes but also awesome. You only have that with a few people in the world. When you find it, you should make the most of it.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for coming on, Christopher.
Well, thank you for having me.
Can I call you Chris?
I look forward to when we do Demonic Toys.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time.
Hell yeah.
Hopefully within the next couple of months. Whenever Chris decides.
Whenever you need
I'm
me,
free
just let me
all
know.
week. You guys need to get a hold of me. You can check the schedule that I have posted as part of the main post on the Full Moon Madness Facebook page. And you're free to schedule any of the movies that haven't been claimed yet. Just try to make at least a day's warning so that we can all watch them and be willing to get in here a half hour ahead of time so that I can get to know you. That way it doesn't feel like a couple of random strangers that met each other in a public bathroom or something like that.
Glory hole.
That could be kind of sexy. As always, I have been Mosley. You've been a bunch of sexy beasts. And this has been yet another episode. That Full Moon Live, baby. We will see you back here next time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. Excuse that extra 12 minutes there. We tried to close this out at 2 hours, but it didn't quite work out that way. Maybe
Do now.
Get to the chopper.
Do it now. Get to the chopper. Come on. Yeah.
I'm pregnant.
Yeah, I'm pregnant.